Happy Friday, everybody, Delaware Valley and beyond. Hope you're having a great one. Maybe your weekend started early. If it did, lucky you. If it didn't, well, only a few more hours, and hopefully you can get it started. I got to tell you, there is a Friday mood here in the studios as a lot of hyperness going around as people are getting ready. A lot of guys going on vacation, taking trips. Kincaid's on one. I think after today, we don't see Ray Dunn for like the next 3 months or something because he's going everywhere. So hopefully you can join in today. Hang with us. We're going to have a lot of fun today. Larry Bowe is going to join us at 1 o'clock. Talk about the Phillies. Of course, at 1:30, we have our last week report. Bill Colarulo is here with us all day long. How you doing, Bill?
All good, my brother. How are you?
That's what we like to hear. All's good. Ray, can you keep 1 foot in the studio for the next 4 hours? It's all I ask of you,
Bob,
my friend.
I'm here and ready to go for the next 4 hours.
That's what I like to hear because he is ready to rock and roll. But none of us can do that until we get through the front page.
Now, the front page. The stories everyone's talking about. 97.5, The Fanatic.
Cole Hamels retirement night. That's right, that is tonight down at the ballpark where Cole Hamels will officially retire. I guess you could say a Philadelphia Philly. Before the Phillies go, the 49-25 Phillies tonight open their series against the 37-38 Arizona Diamondbacks. The Phillies sit at a .662 winning percentage right now. It's tied for the best in all of baseball with the Yankees and the Orioles. What a division fight that's going to be for the rest of the year. They're looking for revenge from Games 6 and 7 last year, home losses in the NLCS to those Arizona Diamondbacks. It's been talked about a lot this year. We're going to take a closer look at it. Nick Castellanos enters the series having gone 7 for 13 with 4 doubles against the Padres in the 3-game series that ended on Wednesday. Taijuan Walker goes tonight. He's on a 6-start winless skid, so hopefully that gets turned around tonight. It's the first time in his career, which is kind of surprising. Taijuan Walker's been around a little bit, but it's the first time in his career that he's going to face the Arizona Diamondbacks. They'll throw lefty Jordan Montgomery out there. He's 5-4 with a 6 ERA. He had a good outing his last outing. He went like 5 innings with no runs. But in the 5 starts before that, Bill, how about he had an 8.07 ERA?
That's not that good, is it, Bob?
No, it's not good at all. So hopefully the Phillies can get to Montgomery tonight, early and often. The game, and I feel sorry. Do you know who's producing tonight at 6:30-ish hour? Because the Phillies are on Apple TV tonight.
Matty Menark.
Matt, I apologize in advance for the amount of phone calls you are going to get. And when this used to happen to us at the Daily News, too, you get people calling in, how come I can't get the Phillies game? What channel is it on? Apple TV, for all you out there confused about it, try to look it up beforehand, see what you can do. Maybe you got to pay, I don't know, a couple dollars a month, but that's where the Phillies are tonight, Apple TV. Tomorrow, 4:05 start, Zach Wheeler goes against left-hander Tommy Henry. So a couple of lefties going against the Phillies right away. We'll see what Rob Thompson decides to do because you know that lineup's going to be, changed around a little bit on Sunday. And whoever's producing on Sunday at 11:30 in the morning, I feel sorry for because the Phillies are on Roku TV. It'll be Christopher Sanchez against Slade Ciccone. So that's where the Phillies are right now. Your Eagles, guess what? They're still going to report on July 23rd for minicamp, or training camp, rather. So we still have a little over a month for that. Sixers, Wednesday is the NBA draft. We're going to have a show from there on Wednesday night from the Sixers, I believe from their practice facility over in Camden. We went over some of the players that might be there if they decide to remain at number 16. On the national front, J.J. Redick, 4-year deal it is talked about. 4-year, about $32 million was the number I was hearing, $8 million a year, as the next Los Angeles Lakers head coach. And, Ray, what did you say before the show that Redick was drafted, some years after?
3 years after LeBron.
And now he'll be coaching him. So we'll see how that all plays out.
Well, hopefully not, Bob.
Yeah, really. Yeah, and hopefully not. Hopefully he'll be coached by Nick Nurse in our eyes. We're going to talk a little bit of Sixers moving forward in that where is this all going? What's going to happen? And what if a lot of things there's three main things. What if none of them happens? Where do you go after that? So we'll talk about that a little bit later. Edmonton Oilers tonight, they host the Florida Panthers in Game 6. And for all of you that listen to the morning show, you know that Brendan Gunn, now this is right, correct, Ray? That if Edmonton wins this series, his parlay plays out?
He's got 2 more legs after this, but yes, he'll be 4 for 4 so far.
I thought this was the last leg.
No, still the Phillies and Georgia to win the national championship.
Oh, okay. All right, so our own Brendan Gunn. What did he put down on it?
$1.
$1 to win $46,000 if Edmonton, the Phillies, and Georgia all wind up champions this year. So there you have it. There's the front page. We're going to dive a little deeper into things, but we appreciate you being here with us. Bill, anything spectacular going on in your life that I missed yesterday, being out on the golf course all day?
No, but thanks for rubbing it in. I haven't really been able to get to the golf course, but was
You're
on Best Show Ever with Ty yesterday. That's always fun being with Tyrone, and I'll be here all weekend. So that's what's big in my world.
Very nice. I had a chance to listen to Kevin Cooney and D Lineham a little bit as I was driving out to the golf outing. So we thank them for being there. All right, first thing I want to put out there to you guys today. We've talked about these things. I need to know the order of importance, for lack of a better term. You have the NBA draft on Wednesday. You have free agency going on in the NBA. Major League Baseball trade deadline is coming up. What's more important for the sports fans of this city? Sixers have taken up a lot of talk. Sixers have a total, as we've said a million times, empty slate. Everything is clear. You got Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, and then after that, nothing. There's just nothing there. And all the talk, and I tell you, I kind of looked at it side-eyed last week when we were talking to Paul Hudrick, and Keith Pompey has relayed the same message, that it looks like their 3 main targets are 39-year-old Kyle Lowry, 35, soon-to-be 36-year-old Nico Batum, and Kelly Oubre. I kind of, wow, really? That's who you're bringing in? 2 glue guys and, okay, somebody that had a nice season last year that you were able to buy or get with the minimum. So there's a lot of things the Sixers have to do, and big names we keep talking about. But also, you have the best team in baseball here right now, and you have a trade deadline coming up. And you also have an outfield that's kind of, for now, like, I don't want to say wonky, but it's certainly not settled. So, Bill, to you, what's the more important for the sports fans of this city to see happen?
It's a tough question because they're both so important, but I think if I'm putting myself in the broadest of Philly sports fans, all of them, it's the trade deadline in baseball. Because this team is, obviously, they could do nothing and they still have a real shot to win the World Series. So I think that's most important for most fans because they know, hey, you add a piece in the outfield, that may be the missing piece to really get this team over the hump to win the World Series. With the NBA team, the Sixers, first of all, a lot of fans have checked out. Right or wrong, they've checked out over what's happened the last 41 years, right? We haven't won a title in 41 years. And I just think no matter what they do, there's really nothing they can do that's going to make everybody happy. There's nothing, because if they get LeBron, I'd be happy, you'd be happy. There's still fans who say, nah, I don't want him. They get Paul George, which now we're getting reports, maybe they're not interested. People will say, I didn't want Paul George. He's too old to fit. Brandon Ingram's not good enough. Jimmy Butler's getting too old. I don't think there's anything the Sixers can do that's going to make everyone happy, but I think most Phillies fans are going to be happy after the trade deadline because I think Dombrowski's going to do something.
All right, I'm going to come back to you on that Phillies point. Ray, I ask you, what is more important for the sports landscape of this city? That the Sixers get this right and they have to make a splash, a real big splash, or that the Phillies, best team in baseball right now, make that little tinker to the outfield or bullpen or whatever you wanted to be had at the trade deadline?
Got to be NBA offseason for you. And I think I look at what Bill said with this Phillies team being able to win a World Series as constructed. That, to me, they can add pieces. That's great. They can make some additions to it. But this Sixers team, you need to literally field a roster. And you're looking at really the Phillies window, we think they're somewhere in the middle of their window. The Sixers window, I think we're looking at like, you get this one right, you keep that window open. You get this one wrong, and boy, oh boy, are we going to have some tough questions over the next couple of years about this franchise and about the direction of it. So I think in terms of importance for what it should be, it's got to be this NBA offseason. Most certainly free agency. If we were doing like free agency draft, break them apart, the draft to me would be a very distant third to the MLB trade deadline and NBA free agency.
Yeah, and the reason I included draft in there was two reasons. One, because it's next week. It's next Wednesday. But two, we can't just say draft and think of who they're going to pick. It'll play a big part in the future of maybe how they're going to build this team. But it's funny. When you say that, what Bill says, I'm like, okay, good. You're thinking win now, win now, win now, because the Phillies are so close. That's a win now thing. Yours is more, when you look at it, right, and you say the Sixers, are you looking more towards the future of the Sixers, or are you saying that getting players now means win now? You know what I mean? Like how are you looking at what the Sixers are going to do? Is it a future thing or is it a win now thing?
No, it's a win now thing. Oh, please. Future. Right. 2026 doesn't exist in my brain. I got 2024, 2025 right now, right in front of me for the Sixers. There is no, what's the only reason I care about the year 2028 is because they have an unprotected first-round pick of the Clippers in that year that can be used to trade to get someone. That, to me, future, forget that. I've got one of the best players in the sport right now. I want to go in and win right now.
So if I was arguing against you, and I'll ask Biz, isn't win now more prominent with the Phillies? Because they are right there?
Well, that's why I said, look, Ray's answer is a rational response and probably the right.
Irrational or irrational?
Rational.
Okay.
Saying that it's probably the right answer, that we should be saying that what's going to go on with the Sixers is most important because they have nobody, and we have to see them take advantage of Joel Embiid's window as it's constructed. But when you asked the question, you didn't say what I thought was most important. What is most important for fans? And most important for fans to me is they see this Phillies team as having a real shot to win the World Series. Most fans don't look at the Sixers and say, oh, yeah, no matter what they do this offseason, they're going to be able to beat the Celtics. So that's why I think most fans are looking at the Phillies and saying that's the most important thing in their mind.
It is such an interesting topic. And did you guys see what Johan Rojas did last night?
Oh, yeah.
4 for 4. What don't you like about that?
Home run?
Yeah. I like he hits an opposite field home run, but it was that swing again. It's that long, looping swing. He goes 4 for 4. He gets a home run, and you start to wonder, like, what are they working on this kid down there? Or what's the deal? Where do you think
this is game 3 for him down there? I don't think you're seeing a swing change within 3 games.
Well, you didn't see it in 60 games up here either. Like, what is going on? I just, sometime, at some point, Ray, something has to change. And I don't care if it's 3 games down there or 60 games up here. We're seeing a swing from a number 9 hole hitter that is like a projected 230 hitter that's going from back year to back year, where it tries to look like I don't know who swinging for the fences all the time.
I hit over the fence. It's pretty nice.
So you're backing this swing of Johan Rojas.
No, I mean, within 3 games, I don't think they're fixing a swing. The dude hit a home run.
Well, something's got to change. Like, when do we see a difference?
I don't know, but probably not within 3 games.
It's not just 3. It's 3 games down there. He was 60 up here,
well,
and he didn't change his swing.
If they sent him down there to work on it, we're 3 games into them working on it.
Okay.
And there was a home run hit.
Oh, okay. So, like,
I don't know if we'd love to see the swing fixed, but I think if there was an outcome, I'd prefer not to swoop it, like the sweeping swing and miss at strike 3. Yeah, I'll be upset about him swinging and missing at something like that, but upset over a home run, I'm not there over that.
I do worry. I worry that, like, all right, does he think he is something more than he is? I do want to see a change. I do want to see, like, 5-10 games from now, watch it and say, oh, okay, cool. He's not striding as much as he used to, or he's not striding at all, much like Bryson Stott and Bryce Harper does on 2 strikes. Or, like, wow, look at that swing. You can tell it's really cut down. It's finishing at his shoulder as opposed to way behind his ears. But I don't know.
Even if Rojas goes down and looks great, let's say he keeps this up for the next couple of weeks. To me, that still can't be the answer that you're going to have Rojas in center, a platoon in left, and Castellanos in right, heading into October. Even if Rojas looks like he's fixed his swing down there, can that be the outfield we're relying on at the plate come October? Is that really what we're going to do? So I don't know. For me, it's anything that Rojas does down there at the plate would be gravy. Maybe he's on the postseason roster, possibly as a defensive replacement. But for what I want this team to do, the center fielder position that I want to see them go out and address at the trade deadline. So for me, Rojas isn't a part of the plan in October.
All right, we're going to talk more about that because I have some feelings that I teased on the crossover today about the Phillies, and it might be a little bit different than what Bill just laid out there. So it'll be a good talking conversation. Just to remind you also, Larry Bowa will be joining us at 1 o'clock today to talk Phillies. All right, who put this up here? Was that you or was that...
Sean in the back.
Okay, Sean in the back. So Brian Windhorst apparently on Get Up is saying that Paul George is going to opt in with the Clippers and then ask for a trade. Okay.
If from what I guess what I'm trying to synopsize exactly what you got here. That if he's going to change teams this offseason, it's more likely that he opts in and requests a trade. So I think that's a piece of this. If he's going to go somewhere, it might just be after opting in and then requesting a trade.
So that puts him on the same scale now as like a Jimmy Butler in that in order to get him, you'd have to give up assets. So that makes the NBA trade or the NBA draft on Wednesday night a little more interesting.
Let me ask you, Bob. Why, if you're Paul George, do you go this route? Why not just hit the free agent market? Why opt in and ask for a trade?
I don't know. I don't know if he's trying to do the team a favor. Like they said, we'll opt into a really good contract for you, and then we'll get rid of you. It's that. Glad what?
It could widen the pool for him.
It could,
because if you have to trade him, someone else has to give up cap space, give up players under contracts to go back to the Clippers. It opens up the number of teams that are available to get him. Like you think about cap space teams right now, Sixers, Magic, like who else has the amount of space just to absorb him as a free agent? I think if he opts in, there's a chance he's dealt. He can go somewhere else that he might actually want to go.
There could be a team out there that he wants to go to, and the Clippers say, "Hey, let's work something out." And he winds up getting what he wants.
So it's interesting that this gets reported today, coming off the heels of yesterday's report that the Sixers are no longer interested, or their interest was waning.
Yeah, and as I said before the show, you wonder if that came from Paul George's side. And he's like, yeah, I'm not interested in Philadelphia, so let's put out there that, the interest is waning. It's weird that it said the Sixers' interest is waning. If it just said interest is waning, that could have meant, is Paul George interest waning, or is it the Sixers? There's so many questions coming up here.
Yeah, because if, to Ray's point, if Paul George opting in is to widen the pool of potential teams that are interested,
right?
Well, yeah, the Sixers would have been an obvious team you could have gotten to in free agency on a max deal. So is it Paul George that's not interested in the Sixers? Or is it the other way around? That's what I'm trying to figure out because, Bob, we've talked about this. Is all we've heard since the Sixers season ended was Paul George, Paul George, Paul George. Then you have Joel Embiid on the pregame show at the NBA Finals sitting next to Paul George, clearly trying to recruit him. And now, all of a sudden, what has changed that Sixers are no longer interested? To me, it signals maybe Paul George's not interested.
Yeah, and, now if he opts in and looks for a trade, who do the Sixers have to trade? You're going to have to sign people just in order to trade them, and that gets, that's what GMs are supposed to do and president of basketball operations are supposed to do, figure all those things out. But no, it's just, is LeBron going to be moving? Who knows? Everything or everybody that has been labeled towards the Sixers, there's major tie-ups. And there's one in Jimmy Butler that I've said before, and I do. I don't want Jimmy Butler. Like, I'm not 35-year-old Jimmy Butler who demands I don't. I'm not there with Jimmy Butler. So that's just me. Maybe you want that. But again, you're going to have to give up a lot of assets to get Jimmy Butler.
I'm with you that Jimmy Butler wouldn't be my top priority, but I know we're going to talk a little bit later on in the show is if you can't get the other guys, I don't want to see them do nothing. So I would take Jimmy.
It is a subject I'm going to bring up later on in the show because it's getting, I don't want to say dangerously close because we don't know the ins and outs of what the Paul George situation is, LeBron James situation is, what the Sixers may be thinking as far as maybe a Brandon Ingram, a Jimmy Butler, all of those things. But we'll talk about that and a whole lot more. But the question that I want to put out to you now, what do you think is more important to you? Is it that the Phillies, with the best record in baseball right now, do a little tinkering to try to ensure in your mind that they can be really World Series favorites as opposed to contenders? Or is it more important that the Sixers make a big splash this offseason, get a huge free agent, maybe do something with the draft in order to get somebody else? What's more important to you? 610-632-0975. Bill Colarulo's here with us all day long. This is Middays, Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Welcome back. I want to tell you 10 o'clock hours brought to you by Window Nation. Take advantage of Window Nation's 50% off sale on all style windows. Plus, make no down payment with no payments and no interest for 12 full months. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com. Awfully hot the next couple of days. So everybody, please take it easy out there. We know there's a lot. I have a graduation party outside tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. More importantly, take care of, parents and older people, grandparents, maybe people like that. Just make sure you keep an eye on everybody, and also make sure you load up on the hydration. Now, Ray, alcoholic beverage are not hydration, so make sure you mix in a water every once in a while, whatever else you're drinking, okay?
You would have been so proud of me.
Why is that?
On Wednesday,
you were at Sips.
2 Gatorades before I left the apartment.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, we were out on the course yesterday. Like I told you guys before, I don't mind the heat all that much. There were some guys that, even before we started golfing, were just like Tommy Green's, his golf shirt was like soaked through. Now, I'm sure he's a very serious golfer. He probably went out and hit a bunch of balls and stuff like that. I didn't. I was nice and cool and calm. I putted a couple of times before we went out and golf. But just be careful out there. Please make sure you take care of yourself. Lots of water. Or Gatorade, whatever you want to do.
Who was the winning squad yesterday at the tournament?
I don't know, because it's such a there's so many people and it's so great, but it is a long, long day. And the place is like an hour and a half from my house. So we got done, and I was throwing a football with Ricky Batalico for a little while, and there were still people on the course. So dinner was going to be a while away. So I went over to Michael and Ellen, his wife, and just said, I gotta bow out now. So I didn't hear what the final score was. We came in at 10 under. I was very happy with
Not
our
too
crew.
bad.
No.
Yeah, 10 under.
Yeah, it was fine.
Now, how much did you contribute?
No bogeys. I played okay. First hole that we started, it's a really beautiful par 4 where you're kind of up on a hill, and then your second shot is down to the green. We used my tee shot. Then I hit 8-iron into about 8 feet or so.
Nice.
So the first 2 shots of the day of mine we used.
That's always nice in a scramble that your shot gets used at least a couple times.
Oh, yeah, every once. We didn't hit any putts, like any major putts, but it was a fun day, and we thank Michael Barkan for that, and Ellen Barkan for what they did yesterday. Always a lot of fun there. Okay, our first question that we have out there today to you at 610-632-0975. What do you look at as more important? The Sixers making a huge splash with all of the room that they have to work with as far as building a roster and getting close to winning that championship. That how many years has it been now, Bill?
41.
41 years. That's right. Is that more important to you, or because they are right there, they are very close, is it more important to you that the Phillies tinker and do a little bit of something that makes you feel better that they can win a World Series? They are tied right now, the Phillies are, for the best winning percentage in all of baseball, tied with the New York Yankees and the Baltimore Orioles at a like 662 winning percentage. So we've talked a lot about the tinkering that the Phillies could do, whether it's another outfielder. Ray had a thing the other day, Bill, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this. We talked about like a bashing left fielder, and I had said that before the season started. I would love to see some more power out there in the outfield. We talked about them getting. Oh, you also brought it up about getting somebody that could bash a little bit out there. But then Ray said, well, someone between a fourth outfielder and a starting outfielder. Where do you think they go? Where do you think the Phillies are going to go with this, if anywhere at all? And it can be specific if you want, but it could be general.
So with the caveat of it's going to take 2 to tango, because a team has to be willing to give up this player at a reasonable price. But if I'm Dombrowski, my priority would be a center fielder that can hit. Because what I don't want to see happen is if you bring in a big hitting left fielder, that means that your center fielder is probably Brandon Marsh. And I don't know if Marsh's defense out there is good enough that you would sacrifice having him out there even for the big bat in left field. So then what does that mean? Do you bring in Rojas? Is it a platoon between Marsh and Rojas? So for me, I think it just leaves too many question marks. What I would rather see is you get that big bat in center field. I've been a big proponent of Luis Robert Jr. for that very reason, because now it allows you to play Marsh in left field, and I think you have your outfield set for the postseason.
How about you, Ray? Are you still with what you said before that you think it's going to be or you want it to be somewhere between that bopping outfielder or a good fourth outfielder?
I mean, I love the bopping outfielder, but again, I think it comes down to what they're going to be able to secure and what's going to be able to be acquired at the deadline. And I think right now, especially, there's a premium on a center fielder that can hit. Like that, to me, you're usually looking at somewhere between, oh yeah, this guy is a great defensive center fielder, or this guy is a really good hitter who happens to play center field for right now until they find a better solution there. So I think you're going, like, that premium is going to cost you. Whether or not they can, one, pony up that cost, or two, just be in the same ballpark as some other teams that might have a more pressing need in the outfield, is going to be, I think, the big storyline of what we see at the trade deadline. So I'm all for them going and pursuing that big hitting outfielder. And even if they, I do look at this group as, hey, last year, we're talking about them playing the Diamondbacks tonight. Last year, we think they should have made it to the World Series, and their outfield was a Rojas Marsh. The season before, Marsh was your center fielder, and they won the pennant. Like, it's not impossible to do it. I understand what Bill's saying in terms of, hey, like, yeah, ideally you add some tremendous talent to that outfield, and it pushes you that much closer to winning a World Series. But they do, I think they can look at themselves and say, hey, we do have a path forward with this group, even if we don't secure the massive player that everybody looks for at the deadline.
Yeah, I wonder if they're... All right, let me ask you this. How close do you think it will come to the Sixers getting the Phillies getting a splash move? Like, you mentioned Robert all the time, and a lot of people have. Do you think it's going to be a bigger move, or do you think it's going to be okay, let's see how that plays out move? Do you think Dave Dombrowski... I would say, if you were to ask me about Dave Dombrowski, big move or, a tinkering move, I would say resume says big move.
And I get it. And look, I've said this before. We are nitpicking. We are being greedy. But,
sure.
But Ray just said it. Oh, well, look, they were close last year with the outfield that they had. They were close the year before with the outfield that they had. Well, what's the old saying? Close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, Bob. So for me, I want to see him make the big splash. And I think Dombrowski, knowing that you have the luxury, knock on wood, there's no injuries to your starting pitching, you have the luxury where you are a true contender that doesn't need another starting pitcher. Most contenders, when the trade deadline comes, what are they looking to add? They're looking to add that big starting pitcher, even on a rental, to make a stretch run. You don't have to do that this year. So Dombrowski can go all in with the one weakness, if this team has a weakness. The one weakness is the bats in the outfield. So I'm hoping, I don't know if he will make the big splash, but that's what I'm hoping that he does.
How about you, Ray?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we look at it...
If you're a betting man, yeah.
Oh, I'm a betting man for this. My betting man is that he's going to go and go after the biggest fish he can find.
Okay.
I think that this is the year that he pushes the chips to the center. I think he looks at the landscape of baseball right now and goes for it. I was just going to say, back to the point of the last 2 years being close, we saw a team that made splashes for 3 straight years after winning a World Series from 2009 to 2011 and didn't end up winning. Like, unfortunately, with baseball, sometimes it's just the way you're going at the end there. Like, I don't think the 2022 team is better than the current team we have constructed, but that 2022 team won a pennant. If this team doesn't win a pennant, are we going to say that 2022 team was better?
No, but you're right. It is. That's just baseball, and that's why I think you have to do as much as you possibly can to make the team as bulletproof as possible. Doesn't guarantee it. There's no guarantees in baseball. But here's the problem, and I think they talked about it yesterday, Ray, Kevin and D on the show with you. The way the new postseason is constructed, realistically, there's only 5 teams in all of Major League Baseball who can basically say they're going to give up right now. I mean, everybody else is in the wild card race. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You look at the National League, only the Marlins and the Rockies are double-digit games out. The Cincinnati Reds are next up at 1.5 games out of the wild card. I mean, that's mind-blowing. And they're 35-39, a game and a half out of the National League wild card. So there may not be another team willing to give up a big player, because if they take the Chicago Bulls mentality, switching back to basketball, they're going to say, we'll just be happy to stay in the running. We'll just be happy to stay in the race.
Yeah. Ray's not happy with the Chicago Bulls, and he's going to talk about that later. I think this is going to be that spot in the show, Bill, later on where Ray goes off. And we love sitting here and watching that happen. Stan in Drexel Hill is chiming in with us today. Stan, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, guys. How you guys doing this morning?
Good. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Real quick on the Phils, man. I got to say, I went to my first Phillies game on Tuesday. My mom actually got me some tickets.
First ever?
First ever.
Oh, that's cool.
I've been to like 1,000 Sixers games. I haven't been to an Eagles game. I've been to an Eagles preseason game. So I don't really count that all the way. But I've been in the stadium at least. But Phillies is the first time in Citizens Bank Park. And that experience was something that I will never, ever forget, man. And then Castellanos, of course, hit the game winner. Where I was sitting, the Schwarber's home run comes in that direction, so I literally saw the ball, coming to us. It was just one of those experiences that I got to tell you, man, I see why we as Philly fans in general, just that atmosphere is something special. I know it's cliche, and I sound like a homer because I'm here, man. I got to tell you, though, that was definitely top 5 experiences for me, of all time.
So, Stan, let me ask you something. Was not going before, now we all have a myriad of reasons why we can't go because of, kids, other obligations, money, tickets are priced so high. Did you not want to go to games before? Was it not a priority?
It was probably just not a priority.
Okay.
It's not that I didn't want to go. I don't think they didn't make themselves available as far as the opportunities.
Okay.
Sixers games, I was actively trying to get tickets, or when you guys used to give out tickets all the time when they were bad, I was getting those tickets all the time, So it's those things, and my mom used to work with people who were able to give her tickets at times, so it was always available to me for me to go to those games. And Eagles games, I really made it a choice not to really go, because I don't really like to be in the cold like that. And even though I could get maybe tickets earlier, they never made themselves available like that. So the Phillies kind of was just okay, well, if it ever presented itself, I would take the shot.
Right,
and
right.
That was the perfect time, and I had a just grand old time. Seriously. It was
That's
really
awesome. Good. Now, listen, real quick. Let's get to it has to be quick. Your Sixers rumor.
Yeah. So I've been, hearing all these rumors, Sixers are out on PG and this, that, and the third, and I got to tell you, man, I don't believe any of it, only because I think in the world of basketball, you'll hear a report 1 minute where it tell you a team is not I remember the Sixers weren't going to trade for James Harden because the Nets weren't going to do anything. They weren't going to give up anything. They weren't going to do any, blah, blah, blah. And the next, trade deadline, boom, we trade for him. So
yeah.
it's to me, the Bulls, right? The Bulls swore up and down, we're not giving up Caruso for anything. They had multiple teams offer them 3 firsts,
yep.
and they didn't want it, but they take Josh Giddey. So, I don't believe that they're out on TG. I don't think they're out on trading for Ingram or Levine. I don't think it's until something officially happens or does it happen. I don't know how you want to quantify that.
Yeah.
I think they're in play for everything, man.
Okay. All right, Stan, and I've seen it a lot. Thanks so much for the call. I'm glad you got to your first game. I have seen it a lot where, I was around it when I was reporting and covering the team that you would hear things. You'd have to, really dive in deep. Is this what's going on? Is this just what somebody's saying? You have to look at the wording of everything, all of those types of things. It's funny. We were talking this morning about, somebody said Woj was wrong saying that J.J. Redick was going to be the next Lakers coach. Well, you have to just read in, and I'm not blaming anybody, but you have to read into it more. No, he said that they were really actively pursuing him. So, because it happened to me a lot. Oh, well, you said this. No, that's not what I said. You got to kind of make sure we read into it real close. All right, when we get back, there is some talk about Paul George this morning, and Brian Windhorst had some things to say. We're going to take a little deeper look at that, and maybe what if some of these things don't happen with the Philadelphia 76ers? All that, we got a lot of things to talk about today. Bill Colarulo's here with us. This is Middays. Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Welcome back. Happy Friday. Hope you're geared up for a great weekend. We know a lot of people in here are pumped for the weekend. A lot of vacation coming up now. Ray, you know how much I love working with you, Ray. But you have some vacation time coming up. You are traveling with the family, so next week we won't see you. I just want to warn the listeners, because when people aren't here, rumors start to fly. But you're going away next week.
I am going away next week.
Okay.
So I will see you guys that next Monday.
All right. Well, we hope you have, on behalf of all of our listeners, everyone here at the Beasley family, we hope you have a great vacation. Right?
Does everyone wish I have a great vacation?
Yeah. Why,
you want to speak for everyone? I don't know. There could be someone out there that wishes me a poor vacation.
I've never heard anyone at this station say a bad thing about you.
You're starting to speak on behalf of our listeners as well.
I've never seen one of our listeners say anything bad about you.
You are not on Twitter.
That's crap. They don't say bad things about you. All right, so just a little interesting thing that we were talking about during the break a little bit. Cole Hamels tonight is retirement night down at Citizens Bank Park, which is going to be a lot of fun. I love when they do stuff like this. I do worry, though. I always worry when there is celebration if it takes away from the game a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, all right, the game starts a little later. Do the players get off kilter a little bit because it's something? The weird thing is they're honoring the 2009 team with this retirement.
They're giving away the National League rings, right?
Yeah, from 2009, which is an interesting choice on Cole Hamels' night, given that Cole Hamels did not pitch particularly well in 2009.
He was horrible, and he said that he knew why, because he was celebrating the 2008 World Series and him winning MVP, and he didn't prepare properly.
Yeah.
It's kind of odd.
And also giving away the NL championship rings on a night that you welcome back the current NL champions who beat you in the NLCS.
Yeah.
It was an interesting choice.
It is. But you know what? I was speaking with John Brazier yesterday, who is, what's Tough Fun and Games? The
Director of Fun and Games.
Director of Fun and Games for the Philadelphia Phillies.
Which is your title here.
No, it's not.
You are on top of everything you do here. You're a Director of Fun and Games.
And there's a video circulating on our Instagram right now about whether we should trust Bob being the Director of Fun and Games.
That's a good point.
Oh, that is correct. Well, as in the words of the great Amy Fadul, well, then tell the other people to pick better. So I was talking to Brazier yesterday, and I was like, how cool. You can always say this every once in a while. Like, I'll never forget when I was working at the Daily News, and it was 1993, the year of the World Series run. And Paul Hagen, who I worked with at the Daily News, was in the office and getting ready to go for a rare, Monday afternoon game, getting ready to go down to the ballpark. And one of the reporters comes over, not a sports guy, a city-side reporter comes over and goes, "Man, you're so lucky. You have the best job in the world." And Hagen looks at him and goes, "Yeah? Where you been the last 10 years when I'm down there at 95-degree heat on a Sunday and, you guys are watching the Eagles play?" Or something like that. So Brazier does have a great job, and he says, "Yeah, everybody always says that to me when we're playing really well. Never see people calling me for tickets when they're, 3-60. But it'll be a fun time down there tonight. But this is what I brought up real quick before I go to Seth here. Cole Hamels, Hall of Famer, somebody brought up on our YouTube page. I'll go to you first, Ray, since you have the most demonstrative answer on your face right now.
No, big fan of his. Hall of Famer. I think he should get his number retired by the organization, but not a Hall of Famer.
Okay. We talked about that, a couple of weeks ago, that the four of them, if you count him with the big three. Cole Hamels, Hall of Fame, Bill?
Unfortunately, I don't think he has enough wins. He's only got 163. What's the magic number, Ray? Usually about close to 300.
Yeah, but nobody's going to get there.
That's going to evolve.
It's never going to happen.
Quickly.
Yeah.
But he's in right now and kind of in this in-between eras where we're still trying to figure out where the counting stats go next. I don't think it's going to be enough.
Yeah. 300 can't be the number anymore because they just don't pitch. They don't pitch enough to get the wins.
Right. Great what he did with the Phillies here and all of that. And watching him, I still remember his first start against Cincinnati because there was a lot of hype about him, left-hander coming up. He broke the hand early on when he was a prospect and all that. Then finally he comes up and it's like, whoa, this guy's real. So I loved watching Cole Hamels pitch. Great stuff. Hall of Famer, it just doesn't ring with me. And that's how I usually go. What's my first reaction? If it's, that's a guy whose numbers I have to look up. For me, he's not that.
4-time All-Star, no Cy Youngs.
No Cy Youngs.
Yeah, I
World
mean-
Series MVP.
Yeah.
Threw a no-hitter his last game as a Philly.
That's
Wonderful.
Yeah, that was cool.
That's
On
like
a-
storybook.
on an unbelievable catch by Odubel Herrera that made it look unbelievable because it was a routine fly ball.
Yeah,
but whatever.
very
that was
believable fly ball to catch.
Yeah, exactly. Seth in Warminster wants to talk a little track and field because we got somebody special from the area. Seth, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you guys going off script a little bit.
Absolutely. What do you got?
I'm not a big track and field guy myself. I was a high school basketball coach. This is my former player. His name's Shane Cohen. Just wanted to shout out and give him love. He was a 1,000-point scorer for me, and then he went to Tampa, and he walked on to the track team there. He was a good runner, and he walked on, and, he did a nice job there. But then he transferred his senior year to Virginia, and last week he won the national championship for the 800-meter, and he's trying out for the Olympics next week.
Oh, wow. So he's hitting the Olympic trials. Where are they? Do you know?
They're in Oregon, I believe. It'll be next Thursday night. I think it's going to be an NBC. The time that he posted to win the NCAA championship last week, it would have won the gold medal at the last Summer Olympics. Like that's, and he's just a fun. He's the highest character kid you could ever get to know, and he deserves all the accolades he's getting now. He deserves it all.
Are we talking Lower Moreland High School? Is that what it was, Seth?
We're talking Lower High School, yeah, and it's funny. I just talked to him. He's getting a lot of crap from his friends because they don't think he can play ball, but he was a hell of a basketball player too, and they're learning the hard way when they went on the court with him recently, and he's a great kid. I wanted to get his name out there. There was an article, local guy Josh Verlin wrote an article that came out yesterday too. So in our little area here, it's getting some traction.
Oh, absolutely. Shane Cohen, we'll keep an eye out for him next week at the Olympic trials. 800-meter, you said?
800 meters, yeah, Thursday night.
All right, great. Seth, thanks so much for the call. We really appreciate keeping an eye out for Shane Cohen, local kid. Let's root him on next Thursday. We've been watching a lot of the swimming Olympic trials in our house because my daughter swam and loves it, and we've watched a lot of that. It's pretty cool. And the Indiana Fever, actually, the team went over to the trials because those are in the RC Dome over there. All right, a reminder, Larry Boa is going to be joining us at 1 o'clock today to talk some Phillies. I have a little thing going on here about a theme that I want to talk to you when it comes to the Phillies, and let's see if it's something that you believe carries over. This is Middays, Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Welcome back, Middays. Hope you're having a great Friday. As we approach the afternoon hours, we'll take you right up to the best show ever with, with Tyrone, Ricky, and Silvana. I got a text from Ricky during the last segment. I mentioned to you guys we got done the golf outing yesterday. Ricky and his group were right near us, so we all got done, and we all kind of just stopped at the same place, and we're hanging out. They had a cigar bar there. They had a real bar there. Some other things going on, and somehow a football appeared. So Ricky and I are having a catch and stuff. So I throw him a pass. He goes to get it. He catches it. He's like, oh. All of a sudden, I was like, what happened? He goes, I don't know. I just twisted my ankle or something. Nothing major. He just started hopping around a little bit. He just texted me today that he broke his toe. And I'll tell you what Bill said. Ricky, put this in your book. Bill said, oh, it sucks getting old.
I was putting myself in that category.
I don't know.
I was putting myself there, too.
Oh, I'm teasing you. So,
but Ricky is a lot older than me. Let's throw that out there.
Let's just end it with that. And I don't know how old Ricky is. And I don't know if he wants to mention, because they were talking about, they had a topic on the best show ever the other day of.
Well, Ricky's got a Wikipedia page, so.
Oh, okay.
You could go ahead and Google it.
People can look it up.
And a baseball reference page.
I just said I didn't know how old he was. I didn't say. But they were talking about what is the oldest person you would date if you were single.
Yeah, I tuned in for that conversation.
And Ricky, I think Ricky went years below what his age is, so that tells you. But, Ricky, we hope you're okay. We hope you can hobble in and be able to work today with that broken toe. And I apologize if I had anything to do with it. I was just we were just having a catch.
So now we got to add, not only does Bob intentionally win the pools he creates, now he's hurting co-hosts. How about that?
It's on me. I will say I have a better arm than Ricky Batalco when it comes to throwing a football, too.
But
surprised me a little bit,
Connor.
but it was true.
As you talk about health, because we're talking about Ricky Batalco's toe, during the break, I'm reading an article on NBA.com that really got me upset.
Uh-oh.
Because it says, are the Celtics on track to return to the NBA Finals in 2025? And it says, well, what do they need to do? Stay healthy, end of story.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, that's it.
They don't do nothing.
They don't need any players. That's what's so frustrating is, they are set up for another run.
Yeah, they need, if you root for the Celtics, it's simple. They need not to have a championship hangover. Like going to the season with some kind of a love. No, they're all set. They are set.
Let me ask you, talk about their championship hangover. Violation that they got on a plane and went and partied in Miami instead of Boston after winning?
Different. Yeah, odd. I always try to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes. If Sixers won a championship here and then as a team went down to Miami to party up before they came back here to Philadelphia to do a parade, I don't know. What do you think fan reaction would be?
I think fans would lose their minds. We've waited 41 years. Now, granted, we talked about this yesterday, me and Tyrone. The Sixers may not be able to go anywhere because they're going to just get killed by fans, excited. People are going to be jumping all over them. They may not be able to get somewhere. We remember the 2008 World Series. It was hard to be driving around the city after the game ended.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know. I just think, Ray, you agree, Sixers would probably be killed by fans if they left the city to party and celebrate their championship.
I'm sorry. If we would start to complain about how our players were celebrating the championship we gave us, that would make us the most ungrateful group of losers ever. They celebrate wherever. They bring a Larry O'Brien. They can go all the way around the world twice before that parade, and I don't care. Give me a championship. You celebrate how you want. I'll be somewhere on Broad Street. I'll catch up with you at the parade.
Hold on. You say that, but you're going to tell me if Joel Embiid wins the title, and then there's video of him getting on a plane and leaving the city to go celebrate somewhere else, that people wouldn't have an issue with it?
If there's a video of him having croissants out in France the day after that finals, I don't care. I probably won't be awake yet to watch that video because I'll be too busy celebrating all night long about that title.
Croissants in France. Where'd you pull that one from?
I got to say, I think I agree with you. I think the city would basically be like, I don't give a crap what they're doing. They just won a championship as long as they're back here for the parade. Probably. You know what? This just popped into my head. Eagles is obvious answer because it's the most sports-heavy franchise in this city. But when it comes to parades, a team winning the championship, if it's the Sixers, the Flyers, the Phillies, the Eagles, if you put everybody in a white shirt and had that parade, without knowing which team it is, could you tell a difference? Would it be a huge amount of people more if it was Eagles over Flyers or Phillies over Sixers? Do you think anything is different when it comes to parades for this city?
I think we'd have to get to Boston territory. I think we'd have to have so many parades where it's like, all right, you know what? This organization isn't my favorite of the four. Maybe I just go to work today, or maybe I just call it a day. Like, we are so starved for a championship, I don't think it matters. I think the crowd out there is going to be crazy.
It's going to be millions or a million, whatever, and it's going to be crazy, and it's going to be good because we are a well-behaved city. But, yeah, do you think we could tell a difference, Bill?
I don't know. It's hard because all three of us are 4-for-4 guys. Like, we would go and I would want to celebrate all four of them, but I'm not sure that the Sixers and the Flyers are at the same level as the Phillies and the Eagles in terms of, like, I know a lot of people I speak to who they don't care about the Sixers. They don't care about the Flyers. It's either just baseball or football. So I think maybe there would be not noticeably less, but probably less people at a Sixers or Flyers parade.
Yeah, Sixers is interesting, though, because, there is a lot of interest in the city. This is a basketball city, too. I wonder, Flyers is the one that you think, okay, they might not get the most because there's Flyers, a lot of Flyers fans. People, the joke. Yeah, there's 17,000 Flyers fans in this city, and that's it. It's just the ones that go to the game. I think it's bigger than that because, well, you have to go back 50-plus years. But when they had those parades back then, when this city was just learning about hockey, it was unbelievable. I've often wondered, I don't think we could tell a difference. I, honest to God, if you put us in a plane and said, hey, look, here's one parade, here, let you compare it to this one, I think they'd all be right there.
You say that about basketball, and I'm going back to 2001 when I was in high school, and that run was pretty incredible.
Yeah, it was.
That run took over the city.
Yeah.
It did. It felt like this had become a complete basketball town. It's just, over the last 40 years, though, the lack of winning has taken its toll on a lot of fans.
And maybe, if you're more of a fan of one of the teams and another one wins the championship because it's been so long, you're like, yeah, I just want to see a parade anyway. Let me go.
That's where I think it goes to. Like, ultimately, even keeping it in, like, recent times with that Phillies team in 2022, there were crowds in August, crowds in September, where it was like, oh, yeah, they got off this nice run in June, July, but they're starting to slide back. And those crowds weren't exactly the raucous October crowds you got when they came back for the NLDS. Like, I think winning cures a lot of that whatever feeling that people have.
I think you're onto something there.
Yeah, like, but I'm serious. Like, I think 40 years of bad for the Sixers or not winning for the Sixers,
right.
50 years of not winning for the Flyers. Once one of those teams dials it up and wins the title, yeah, then everyone will be back. I think everybody on Broad Street.
Jump on board.
There would be a big difference between Phillies and Eagles parade compared to Sixers and Flyers parades. It'd be a lot warmer outside.
Yeah.
Right? It'd be in the middle of the summertime, too.
I'll tell you, of the few that we've had, we've lucked out with parade weather.
Yeah, the one on Halloween wasn't bad.
It was gorgeous. I had two of my sons, and they were sitting on the curb right on Broad Street or Market Street. I forget where we were. And gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous day. Way back in the day, the Flyers parades had perfect days. The 80 World Series, where Tug McGraw famously held up the Daily News, the front page of the Daily News, that was a gorgeous day. See, if you want to ensure a gorgeous day, just go win some championship, boys. That's all.
It was sunny for the Eagles parade.
Sunny for the Eagles parade. It was nice,
freezing.
too. No, it wasn't that cold, was it? Oh, it was.
It was pretty cold.
It was. I wasn't at the parade, but yes, it was. I do remember that day being a little bit chilly. Yeah.
But I was there.
You made it.
It's good. Yeah.
Way to go, Ray.
Made it.
All right, there's been a theme for these Philadelphia Phillies this season. And our 1 o'clock guest today, Larry Boa, brought this up at the Brian Dawkins golf outing when he sat down with us and we talked for a little while. And he said the difference this year, because I asked, I said, look, you kind of brought it back. You kind of just, replayed what you had last year as far as players were. What's the difference? He said the difference is this team this year has a chip on their shoulder. Because of what happened against the Arizona Diamondbacks in the NLCS last year, Larry was saying, I truly believe, and talking to the players, there is a chip on their shoulder. Bill, I'll ask you, you played sports, you've been around sports an awful lot. When it comes to professional sports, and something like this is right in front of you, do you think we notice at all tonight in some way a chip on the shoulder of the Phillies against these Arizona Diamondbacks? Now, I'm not saying you're throwing at anybody's head. I'm not talking that way. But you can see when a player has a little extra, oh, man, he wanted this one. Do you think we see that? You think or is baseball a sport where it's harder to show it?
I think they'll have a little extra juice. I know it's only 3 games of 162 games, but professional athletes, no matter what sport it is, they're always looking for something to give them that edge. Whether, that team overlooked me in the draft, or that team didn't sign me.
Yeah.
They're always looking for something. So I think here, absolutely, this was the team that beat you in the NLCS last year. So I'm not going to overreact as a fan if they don't win the series. But I do think as a player, you're looking for something to give you an edge. I think they'll have a little more use.
What about you, Ray? Is there anything noticeable that you can see in a baseball game? And like I said, I'm taking out the throwing at anybody, all that. But do you think there is extra juice, like talked about, going to be shown during these 3 days against the Arizona Diamondbacks?
I hope it doesn't have to be talked about. I hope it's just kind of an unspoken word in that clubhouse when you get in there today. You had a day off. You finally got to relax after the chaos of London, Boston, Baltimore, and then coming back home immediately for 3 games, having to play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. All right, you had your chance to refocus, and, hey, this is the group. You're still better than them. You should still feel that you're better than them. Go out there and show it. I don't know if it's any spoken thing or any oh, yeah, we got to lock in for this one. I think the entire start of this season has been an example of them locking in for this exact moment. Let's go steamroll another team. Another home series. You've won 25 of your last 29 games at home. Keep rolling with what you're doing. I don't know if you actually have to hit another level tonight. I think you just might be at that level right now.
It's weird. I'm glad you said that, at that level right now. Are you guys as confident in this team? Do you still have the excitement for this team that you had before they went over to England? Has it dipped a little bit because, I don't know, they went there and things kind of got different? You have the whole Rojas thing. Where are your feelings right now with the Phillies? Have they not changed at all?
No, they haven't changed. They haven't changed at all. In fact, if anything, maybe they've elevated, because now I'm thinking, okay, this is what needs to be done to try to ensure that you win the World Series. But you look at this team, they're too good not to be excited. And it all starts with the pitching. I know a couple of rough outings from Wheeler and Nola, but the pitching staff is just so good that I'm not letting a couple of games have me overreact. This is a team that has a real shot to win it. It's just, like Ray pointed out earlier, best team doesn't always win in baseball. So that's why I'm just saying, hey, this is what I'd like to see them do. But I'm just as excited now as I was a month ago.
You there, Ray? Is that because, look, as a fan, I always think you're going to have up and downs during a 162-game season as much as a team does, as much as a player does. And it could be overreaction. Oh, my God, 2-game losing streaks, seriously? Oh, my God, Taijuan Walker, he shouldn't be the 5th starter. All of those things, I mean, that's normal for a fan. But is your excitement level still the same, Ray, or has it dipped or maybe even heightened a little bit?
It's heightened for this weekend.
Yeah.
I remember how I felt walking out of Citizens Bank Park after Game 7 last year. I want to beat the Diamondbacks real bad. And I know it's not going to save anything for me, but I just want to make Arizona miserable. I want to make the Diamondbacks miserable. I would like to see them just kind of step on the throats of this team this weekend. Honestly, I'm heightened to the fact of the Diamondbacks aren't exactly the rising to the level of hate I have for the Cardinals for 2011, but I severely dislike the fact that this Diamondbacks team was the one that got rid of that Phillies team in the postseason last year and threw a rain on the whole back-to-back pennants that we could have had and the chance of them going to play the Rangers, and who knows what happens in the World Series. That Rangers team was pretty darn good a season ago. I don't know if they end up finishing the job there and win the World Series. They seem to feel like they would. But going into this weekend, yeah, there's good sports hate for this Diamondbacks team and just beating the doors off of them, honestly, for 3 straight days.
MLB, we talked about it. Phillies play the Mets over in England. They decide to have the same weekend, have the Dodgers and Yankees go against each other. And you're like, what are we doing here? Why are you throwing, these two things together? I think they're kind of made a mistake also with this going Apple TV and Roku on a series that many people have been anticipating. That stinks a little bit, but it is what it is. There was a in baseball last night that I wanted to talk about also. So I was flipping around the dial or whatever, and you had the game in Birmingham, Alabama. San Francisco against St. Louis at Rickwood Field. It was Negro League's tribute game. And they had Reggie Jackson on. And I was lucky enough to catch just the end of it. And after I saw it, I went back and watched it because a lot of people have posted it. If you didn't get a chance to see it, and it's Reggie Jackson sitting down with the people of ESPN because, what's his? I'm sorry? Fox. I'm sorry, Fox. Alex Rodriguez and on. Alex Rodriguez put a question to him asking Reggie Jackson, what was it like back in the day? And, man, we've heard answers from, baseball players, Bill, maybe not even talking so much about the sport in particular, that it makes you just kind of stop in your tracks. And if you haven't seen it, Reggie Jackson's talking about coming up and being an African-American player, coming up and trying to play baseball back then when racism was just unbelievable. His answer, if you haven't done so yet, I encourage you to listen to what he had to say, the things he had to go through, and hopefully for you gain even more of an appreciation for what those players back then went through and the emotion that came out of Reggie Jackson. I just thought it was absolutely awesome last night.
It really was. It was moving. And to hear Reggie Jackson say, I wouldn't want to do it again. I mean, that's how bad it was. I would not want to do it again. So definitely recommend. It's all over Twitter. In fact, I think Tyrone just shared it because I watched it again on Tyrone's Twitter. But it's certainly moving. It is certainly moving. And, again, this was on the heels of him being asked about Willie Mays.
Yeah.
So credit to all of those black players who paved the way.
Yeah, it was. I looked up Rickwood Field last night, on the maps and stuff, so I could see exactly where it was. Look at the field, and I'm like, wow, look at this thing, and it's built in a way that you're like, yeah, okay, that thing's 114 years old is that field. So Major League Baseball, in my opinion, does a lot of these cool things that I like. Some people, whatever, it's another. I love that they play in Iowa, that they play that game. I think that's really cool. Didn't they used to play a game at up in Cooperstown, or do they still do that? Ray,
they've done the Williamsport one the last couple of years.
Williamsport is another one that's
World
great.
Series one.
Yeah. Now, Doubleday Field, which is in Cooperstown, which is cool. If you've ever gone up to the Baseball Hall of Fame, when I went up there with my kids, there's continuous games going on at Doubleday Field. They'll have two teams come in, play a game. Another two teams, like as long as there's daylight, there's games going on there. An old field up there in Cooperstown. I love all. I don't know what your reaction to that is, Bill. The Little League game, as they call it, in Williamsport, and something like last night at Rickwood Field. I like those games. I don't think it's
I like
weird.
it. I like it too for baseball, especially because there are 162 games.
Yeah.
I don't like it as much if you're doing things like going to Brazil in week one for an Eagles game when there's only 17 of them.
Yeah, I don't.
You know what I mean? That bothers me, especially when fans here in Philly lose a home game. I don't like it. But when it's 162, I think it's cool, especially because ballparks are so unique.
Yeah.
So it really does add to the mystique of it. Look, the hockey thing when they played outside, I think that's starting to lose its luster a little bit. They've done it so much. But
you're right, it is. I still like it.
I don't mind it, but it's not as cool as it was. When they first started doing it, it was incredible.
It was.
But they've done a lot of it now.
Ray, you're a baseball, purist. Do you like those Iowa, Cooperstown type of games, or do they?
Absolutely.
Do you really?
Yeah, I think it celebrates the history. And I think baseball in its core, for what it holds right now on the American public, like obviously they're doing so much to change it and try and get it, sticks with a younger audience. I think the beautiful part of that game is the history that it has much longer than any of the other professional sports. So I think holding to its history, celebrating its history, reviewing, reflecting on its history is all really important for the game because I think that's one of its core tenets within society, honestly, baseball and the American pastime.
Yeah, the England thing I liked. I didn't like the fact of the scheduling for the Phillies and how it may have hindered them a little bit. But when they do a thing like in Cooperstown and they have the players riding the bus with the kids that are playing Little League, or not Cooperstown, I'm sorry, in Williamsport, and they have the players riding the buses and they have the players going down the hill, on the paper bags and just having that kind of fun. I think that's what sports is all about. And I'll watch those things. The Iowa thing I think is terrific. I'll watch those things forever. Kevin Costner coming through those weeds, that was cool. Like I'm that's never going to be like below me to watch one of those things. I love that stuff. All right, when we get back, I'm a little not miffed. I'll say I'm confused as to why people want this. Now, I don't think we need this. I might be totally wrong. I have a feeling both Bill and Ray are going to tell me that I'm totally wrong, but I'm going to fight the fight anyway. All that and more when we get back. Middays, Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Thanks for being with us. Just a reminder, Larry Boa is going to join us at 1 o'clock. Talk some Phillies baseball going on as they get the Diamondbacks coming in this weekend. We got the last week report at 1:30, of which I heard I am not featured, which is very cool. Right, Ray?
Not prominently featured.
Not like last week when you weren't here.
Yeah, well, yeah, that was fun. That was fun listening to driving home from North Carolina to hear me getting absolutely
I told
rampaged.
Ray, I said, don't do it to Bob.
He did it. That's
It's a
all right.
show of accountability, Bob. We're
It
holding
is.
ourselves accountable. All
We
right?
are. We are. So, the Arizona Diamondbacks are coming in this weekend, as we know. Our last memory of the Arizona Diamondbacks, it's not good. It was Game 7 in Philadelphia after Phillies were up 3-2 and lost the final two games in that series. Were they up 3-1 or 3-2?
3-2.
3-2.
Okay.
2-1 at one point.
Right, and then you come back home and lose. Anyway, Game 7, as I remember, Brandon fought, P-F-A-A-D-T, and it's fought. First of all, that's a violation. Well, he goes out, pitches 4 innings. I remember, Arizona took the lead, and I think didn't Bohm come and hit a home run to tie it at 1-1 in the second? Arizona wins it 4-2. They go on to the World Series. Ray brought up to me on the break the most heartbreaking loss he has ever seen in his life, in person.
Was that?
So we're going to throw out to you at 610-632-0975. What's the worst thing that you've seen, the most devastating thing that you've seen sports-wise in person during your life? Now, Bill, while you're thinking of it, I'll give you mine. And it has to do with, this is weird, and yeah, it's corny, but it's true. Has to do with my kids. Watching each of them play what I knew was going to be their last game of competitive sports was hard as heck. And my daughter got the brunt of it because she was the last of all 4. So when she got done playing, and I didn't think she was going to go play in college, and they played in a championship game soccer, and she was like the best player for her team that day too. When she got off the field, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Oh my God! All 4 of my kids are done playing sport. I have to be honest. I turned to my wife and I said, "Hey, I'm going to take chairs to the car." I had to be by myself. I really did. I had, it was the welling of tears. It was that lump in the throat. It was like, oh man, this aspect of my life, and it's selfish, has passed. And that was the toughest, the most devastating thing sports-wise. Because as I've explained on here many times, my old profession didn't allow emotion to come into play. You do have a sense of it, but I had to curtail it with that. So, Bill, I'll ask you. Most devastating either game, event, play, whatever it was that you saw in person in your sports life?
It's a tough question because I've been very fortunate. I was there when they won the World Series in 2008. I was not there when they lost in 2009. I was there in 2018 in Minneapolis when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. I wasn't there in 2004 when they lost it. I wasn't there in 2017 when they lost. Or, 2022 when they lost. So, I don't know. I'm trying to think of, devastating ones, and the only one I can remember, I can't even remember the specific year, is I was at a Flyers playoff game that when they lost the series and the season was over, and I just remember, because I was obsessed with the Flyers. I mean, I still love them, but when I was a kid, I was obsessed with them. And I just remember them playing that Green Day song. It's something unpredictable.
Oh, wow.
But in the end, it's right. And everyone's clearing out, and it's like, wow, Flyer season's over.
Yeah.
But I've been fortunate. I've been to a lot of big wins for Philly sports and not a lot of big losses.
How about that? So 610-632-0975. What's the most devastating thing, play, game that you've seen in person? Because Ray has haunted memories of Game 7 last year. So describe to us what it was like for you, who you went with, where you were exactly, how it all played out.
I was with one of our vertically challenged friends who might be an old friend of yours. You worked
Of the
with
program,
quite
we'll
a bit.
say.
Yeah, of a program. And another one of our old friends from around here that used to run just about everything, that she was also at the game. So
Okay.
we were all hanging out at that game up, I think, 200 level in Citizens Bank Park. And it just was the sense of dread. Like, that night started with the, kind of uneasy that we even got to Game 7. Don't like that a ton, but I was like, you know what? I'm going. They've been very good with me. This is going to all work out. We're going to have a night. This is going to end with us on Broad Street having a great time. Back-to-back pennants. And then there was just a sense of dread as things continued to move along with that game where it's like, they're not hitting. This is not looking pretty. And I believe it was the end of the 7th inning. I texted one of my friends and I said, this is going to be the most depressing thing in the world because the Phillies season is going to end on a Jake Cave pinch hit. And that's just how it's all going to fall apart because I was just looking ahead. I was like, nobody's getting a hit. And it's going to be Jake Cave coming into bat for Johan Rojas. And sure enough, that feeling of dread hit its entire peak when I watched Jake Cave step out there to bat to close out that game. And I was like, yep, all right. Dream season's over. And then, to make matters worse, after we had watched all of that unfold, the season's over. I was with the group of us that went to go to the elevator to leave the ballpark. And there were too many people in the elevator, so I had to step off, and I lost the two of them. And then for the rest of the night, I had to walk back and get to my own place without, yeah. I ended up going walking to a bar down there where I know the guy that runs it. And we commiserated for about...
That's the life of Ray Dunn.
We commiserated for a while to the point where they were like, all right, it's time for you two to stop being upset about the Phillies and it's time to close this place up and it's time for you to go home.
You probably got a couple of free beverages that night also, knowing Ray Dunn and the world that you live in that I
was so miserable,
become
Bob.
a part of a little bit.
I don't even know.
You don't even know.
I was so miserable. Yeah, that didn't even occur to me.
So that night, the Phillies had all of 5 hits. They struck out 11 times. I remember they brought in Zach Wheeler for like a little over an inning, maybe a couple innings or whatever, which seemed to be a good move. He wasn't bad, but
I lied, Bob. As I'm sitting here remembering the most devastating, I lied.
You remember it now?
I do remember it. I was there, 2003, thinking it was going to be the year the Eagles finally got over the hump in the NFC Championship game when they lost to the Carolina Panthers and Jake Delhomme.
Oh, yeah.
That one hurt. Now that I'm remembering back, because it's been some good memories with the Eagles of late, but yeah, that one hurt.
Now, the reason we're bringing this up is not because this is going to change the fortunes. Like, this is why we do this. We talk about the badness of the past because there's such goodness in the future. And with Arizona being here tonight, it's a bad memory for a lot of people. What's your worst memory? Play that you saw something? I'll tell you one of mine professionally, and that was Game 1. And it wasn't for the Philadelphia team, but Game 1, 2012, 76ers versus the Chicago Bulls. And I'm sitting behind the basket covering the game for the Daily News. It was a Sunday game, as I remember. And the Sixers are down like 14 with a minute, like 12 to go. And I turn next to me to a Chicago legend writer, and I say, Sam, why do they still have Derrick Rose in the game? Boom.
Wow.
Right in front of us before the sentence was out. If I saw Sam, he would cut. He put his hand on my arm and goes, "Oh my God, it just happened!" And sure enough, Derrick Rose tore his ACL.
Was never the same.
Never the same on a career that was just. I covered the Final Four that Derrick Rose was in before he went to the NBA, and man, was he something special. Such a shame. Walt in West Edford, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, Walt?
Hey, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Yeah. Good. Yeah, my worst game was the Eagles' last game at the Vet against Tampa Bay in the NFC Championship.
It's great that you're the first one to say that because that's probably the most popular one, right? Right, Walt?
Yeah, and it was freezing cold. You were so psyched to go in because, you're like, Tampa Bay can't play in this cold, and just ripped your heart out.
Now, do you remember walking out of there, the mood among fans leaving the Vet for the last time? Was it more hostile? Was it more stunned? What was it as you remember?
What I remember, it was stunned. You could have heard a pin drop.
Is that right?
I've never heard it that quiet. Walking out, and usually you walk out of an Eagles game and everybody's had a couple beverages, so it's usually kind of rowdy, and it was not like that at all.
Yeah, I think much, Walt. Appreciate that. There's probably going to be a few people that's a memory, and you see things differently, right? So Walt's he came out and it was like, oh man, it was just dead silent. There's probably other people that were at the game that saw it a little bit differently. And Sean and Ben Salem might be one of them. Sean, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good, buddy.
Good. So yeah, this past season I wasn't at the vet, but I was at the Tampa Bay Eagles playoff loss in Tampa. And if there was one team going into this playoffs that I actually thought the Eagles could contend with, it would have been the Bucs, being as they smoked them earlier in the season. And so I actually worked down at this Bucs stadium because I go to school down there, and I was able to go to both of the games. And watching them from one game to the next, it was insane to see the difference. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I was also down in Tampa for the first Eagles Tampa game, and it was I don't know, how would you label it, Sean? It was kind of a methodical win, right?
The first one was, I felt like I was at a home game. It was a sea of green. There was chanting, chants going out of the stadiums after the game. I remember that because I was working and chanting with the Eagles, and I kind of heard it from my boss at the end, but whatever. But, you know, it's what happens when you're a Philly fan, so.
Well, let's hope that tide changes with the sports seasons we have coming up. Sean, thanks so much for the call. Much appreciated. I thought he was talking about the game, you know, at the vet,
Rondé Barber one.
Yeah.
Well, that one hurt a lot more because this past season, even if they beat the Bucs, I don't think anyone thought the Eagles were good enough to make a run.
No.
But that season back in 2002, right? It was 2002, the one with Rondé Barber, I believe. It was also going to be, we were talking about how storybook it was that Cole Hamels' last game as a Philly was a no-hitter.
Right.
Last game at the vet, they were going to get over the hump. They were going to win the NFC Championship game. It was like you couldn't write a better script. And I still have nightmares of Rondé Barber picking that ball off.
Yeah, that was not a fun time at all. This city was so confident the Eagles were going to win that game back then, and the cold weather, and Tampa can't play in the cold. And I remember bringing that up to Trey Thomas, and he was like, he goes, I'm from Florida. I hated playing in the cold. Yeah. Don't tell me I had any kind of advantage just because I was playing in Philadelphia when it was cold. All right, when we get back, we want to hear more from you about this at 610-632-0975. What was the most devastating sporting event, play that you saw in person? We have a lot of people on hold here. We'll get to you as soon as we get back. This is Middays. Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Welcome back. Middays here, 97.5 The Fanatic. The wonderful Ray Dunn producing today. We'll keep it just level. The wonderful Ray Dunn as he gets in his last couple hours before his vacation comes up.
I will be on the air Sunday. Talk to you all then.
I'm talking your vacation from the midday show. That's another entity. When you go out and, go on your own and, broaden your horizons and stuff, that has nothing to do with the midday shows. You are the man here. There, it's just, whatever. Okay. But anyway, what we're talking
3 to 6
about here.
Sunday. Tune in.
Bill Colarulo is here. Bill, you'll be on tomorrow, 9 to 12?
9 to 1:30 tomorrow.
Oh, Bill's getting the overtime hours.
Nice long shift tomorrow, but it's
Sweet.
always fun.
Always fun. And Ray, what time are you on Sunday?
3 to 6.
All right. So you'll get these guys a lot during the weekend. Have a lot of fun with that. What we're talking about now is the Arizona Diamondbacks come into the city tonight for a 3-game series. We, of course, have the memory of when they were here last, and that's winning Game 6 and Game 7 against the Philadelphia Phillies to take the National League Championship Series. So we pose the question to you. What was the most devastating game, play, whatever, something sports-wise that you missed in person? We've all seen a lot of it on TV, but name one where you were, because Ray was at Game 7 last year, and he's still shaking his head in disbelief over what went down. So we're going to go to Chad in the Lehigh Valley. He's got one. Chad, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, man. So for me, the most devastating thing I saw in person was when, I think it was 99, 2000, when the Flyers were up 3-0 against the Devils. My best friend, who is a Devils fan, I probably shouldn't be friends with him, but I am. Anyway, the guy's terrible, to be honest with you. But anyway, we went to the whole series. And then Game 7, we had the worst tickets in the Wells Fargo Center. I mean, we were probably 6 rows from the top. And when Scott Stevens hit Eric Lindros and effectively ended his career, well, at least in Philly, and they came back from that 3-0 deficit, you could hear Lindros' head bounce off the ice. Yeah. That's how hard he got hit.
That was a devastating when they were up 3-1, not 3-0.
Yeah, 3-1.
Oh, it was 3-1?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But it was devastating.
And they were talking about whether to bring Lindros back or not. Remember? Because the Flyers were playing so well without him. And then they lose in New Jersey, and they come back here. And, Chad, it was weird. I remember that night. It was a Friday night.
Yeah, it was a Game 7, Friday night. Awful.
It was. Chad, thanks so much for that one. So I was working at the Daily News at the time, and Eddie Barkowitz and I, we used to put out the paper on Friday nights, and we had that night shift, and we had that game on, and boom, it happened, and I turned right to Eddie right after, a couple seconds later, because obviously you're watching him laying on the ice, and his body's like kind of all, discombobulated, and I turned to him and I said, that's it. That's the last time we're going to see Lindros in a Flyers uniform. And he's like, whoa, you went right there? And I said, I'm telling you, I think that, because the discord was already there with him and Bobby Clark and all of that stuff. That's a great one. I remember, talk about a place falling silent, right, Bill?
Yeah, that was a terrible, terrible one. And you're right, they didn't want him to come back necessarily because they were up. Man.
Yeah, there was talk among the players, and that was you didn't have that. When there was talk among players of, well, do we need him back? We're up 3-1, and you're talking about one of the greatest in the game. That's what sent a lot of people to say, wow, this might be coming to an end if some of his teammates are thinking they might not need him. I'm just looking at that hit now. Oh, my God.
Yeah, that was a rough hit.
That was
There was
horrible.
a 35-year-old Rick Tocchet on that team, if you remember.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, I do remember Rick Tockett's the best. I got a great story about him, too, but I'll share that in another time. Jeff in Woodbury, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's going on, Jeff?
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Got you good.
Me too. I wanted to take you off speaker. So I'm going to take a different angle on this. Bill, I was also at the Panthers game in 2003. That one hurt. I was in Game 3 in 2009 when the Phillies lost to the Yankees. That one hurt. I'm going to take a different angle. So I was at Seattle last year. Now, it's a big tradition of mine to go to away games every year for the Eagles, and I was actually undefeated until that game. And when Drew Lock drove down, I literally felt like someone dumped me. I literally had my heart ripped out. The guy next to me, he was a Eagles fan, shook my hand. He's like, well, I'll see you later. And then I had to walk out with the Seahawks fans doing their stupid chant. That one hurt. That's the most fresh wound, and I think that's why that's coming to my mind.
Okay, and that's fair enough, Jeff, because if you put it in the pantheon of games that the Eagles have lost, it's probably not up there for a lot of people, but that was your personal.
Personal, exactly.
Right.
Minute 52 left.
Thanks, Jeff.
Minute 52 left. Drew Lock, they let him go 10 plays, 92 yards. It just showed how bad that Eagles defense was last
They
night.
were in such a bad way last year, and somebody brought up the Tampa Bay game that they lost in the playoffs. I felt so poorly about that Eagles team at that time last year. I said on the air, I didn't think they had a chance of beating Tampa Bay. And you're talking about a Baker Mayfield-led Tampa Bay team. And what did they do? They just pasted them. So I'm anxious to see. I hear everybody saying Andrew Salciunas, they should be Super Bowl contenders, all that. I don't think that's so easy to get over. And look, the changing of coordinators, I hear you. I don't know. I'm still wondering how easy that may or may not be to get over. All right, we'll talk about that a whole lot more. Those of you on hold, we'll get to you as soon as we get back. Also, Ray needs to rant. He does it every once in a while. It's pretty cool when he does it. The face gets red and everything gets going. Well, he's got a rant, and it's not even against one of the local teams. No, it's against somebody else. This is Middays. Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Welcome back. As we approach the noon hour, we are at the noon hour, I should say. Hope you're having a great Friday. Happy Friday, as my parents said to each other, Bill. Every day at 4 o'clock, whatever the day was, my dad would fill 2 martini glasses every day, exact same time, and they would clink them together, ding, and say Happy Friday, Happy Saturday, happy whatever the day was. And that's how they started their afternoon.
Key to a happy marriage.
Oh, yeah, a lot of booze in the house. But we hope you're having a good one, whatever you have going on. I was just looking at the weather. 98 tomorrow, 98 on Sunday. Excessive heat. Please take care of yourselves. You know, that's one fight that you don't want to battle. Like, just give in before it even starts. Pound yourself out with the Gatorade and the waters and all that stuff like Ray did yesterday or Wednesday. Very proud of you before you went out. How did you do in your softball game last night? You all right?
Big win. Big win.
Big
for the
win?
group. Yeah.
Nice. Were you an integral part of the win?
Some would say a guy who bats leadoff and got on base every time he was up. No, that would be a big part of the win.
Humble brag right there.
I was going to say, Connor Thomas has really reached inside of you, right?
You asked.
Yeah, you can say you did well without the braggadocious that you just
You
displayed.
said, big win. Was it a big win? Yes. Did you play an integral part in the win? Should I say no?
I
don't want to lie to you.
I think I did okay. You know, I got on base all 4 times, and I was just happy to help the team win. No, you went, well, what do you think if the leadoff hitter got on all 4 times? And blah, 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 blah.
I have to be a little braggadocious because there's just been a running issue amongst our team of where I bat.
He got a lollipop with that haircut, too, Bob.
He looks good with the haircut, yes.
Quite
Probably
young.
a little swifter around the base paths with that haircut.
Just much better to be out in the heat without all that hair.
A little behind the scenes, once again, is that Ray did come in a couple of weeks ago, had a game, and was complaining to me about where he was put in the lineup and had many things to say. Went out and proved himself, or I should say proved the guy probably right that made the lineup when he fell going around third base for
Season
no
opener,
apparent
yeah.
reason.
Season opener. That was a season opener.
Yes, exactly. See, I hear you. I listen. I listen to you. All right, what we're talking about now is with the Diamondbacks coming in, a fun question that we threw out there. Maybe brings up bad memories, but it's a fun question nonetheless. About what's the worst thing you've seen, most devastating thing you've seen live with your own eyes when it comes to sports. Now, we've had a lot of answers on Eagles, the Eric Lindros hit. Rays was Game 7 last year against the Arizona Diamondbacks when the Phillies lost 4-2, struck out 11 times, only had 5 hits. Not a good showing at all to try to win a Game 7. And our friend Mike from Glendora has something to say. Mike, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Doing great.
Good. What's going on, Billy?
What's going on, Mike?
Not too much. So I was at the 2003 Carolina Panthers-Eagles game as well, and that was devastating. I mean, we had 4 turnovers, basically did nothing the whole game. The stat line was even except for all the turnovers and interceptions we had. I remember leaving that stadium with all my buddies with just the most empty feeling. But the game, like, I'm a little older than you, Billy, but when we were in college, the 93 Phillies was like our team. And I noticed it was an away game, and I wasn't there in Toronto. And I don't think anybody said it yet, but that loss, that series, that one always hit me the hardest because I was in, like, you know, I was 20 years old, and it was like I couldn't get over it.
But the Carolina game, Eagles, that is by far the one that you hurt you most, Mike?
Well, that was the one that I was at. And,
okay.
You know, it felt like we were just going to win that game. You know,
it
and
was
we were
unbelievable.
Just so flat.
What sticks out most from that game for you?
Oh, it's like no adjustments, and Donovan McNabb just throwing a ball into the flat, and I forget his name. It was a little cornerback, and he just jumped the route and picked it off, and we were like, that's it. It's over. That's the end of the game.
Yeah, that was thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. That was devastating. It was something we mentioned off there. Also, I want to remember that D-back, and Norman. Why is Norman coming into my head? I don't know.
The one who made the interception, you're saying?
Yeah, I remember the theme of that game was how the heck did these...
I think it was Ricky Manning, wasn't it?
Manning, it could have been, yeah. It was how did these diminutive defensive backs of Carolina shut down the Eagles passing game. Like, they completely shut it down.
Yeah,
And
Ricky Manning had 3 interceptions.
that's what it was, Manning.
in that game.
Did they have who? I don't know if you have their defensive back.
Morgan was the linebacker.
Morgan. Okay.
Yeah,
so
Dan
linebacker,
Morgan was the linebacker.
Dan Morgan's great. He was a good linebacker.
The frustrating thing is I was there the week before for the divisional game, which was 4th and 26.
Yep.
So I thought it's destiny. This team is destined to go to the Super Bowl this year after the heartbreak last year, closing out the link the way they closed out the link. This is the year, and then you have that 4th and 26 miracle, is what it was, to put up 3 points, Bob, against the Carolina Panthers.
So much devastation when it came to the Eagles back then. Vince in Yardley, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's going on, Vince?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm good. So I was at, I think it was 2015, the Notre Dame Temple game down at the Link.
Yeah, I was there too.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Excellent. So you know what I'm going to say. I mean, I grew up a college football fan. I actually grew up a Notre Dame fan, but I'm a Temple alum, and I went to the game and College game day with a bunch of Notre Dame fans. I was the only person pulling for Temple simply because I wanted the city to experience college football because we just don't have it here, unfortunately. And that's the closest we ever got. Like, we were the center stage for all of college football that weekend.
Yeah.
And I remember being so close. And I looked over at my brother who was with me, and I said, they need one more first down. They're going to kick a field goal, and they're going to walk this off and win. And it's going to be the biggest win in college football history here in this town. And they didn't get it. They took the lead, but then they blew it in the last couple minutes with that touchdown to Will Fuller.
Yep, Roman Catholic kid, right?
Yeah, that's right. Oh, my gosh. And I look back on it now, and I'm just like, that was so cool, but yet it was heartbreaking at the same time because Temple was never the same after that game.
Well, it's funny. When you look at it like that, you might be right, Vince. Like, you look back and say, oh, the team was never the same after that, or the program wasn't. But I got the feeling walking out that night that while Temple fans were like, oh, man, we could have beat Notre Dame, it wasn't so much this. Now, Ray, you might have a different look, but to me, just an outsider looking at it, it wasn't so much devastation as it was, damn, we could have had that one and it would have been really cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And I agree with that, but it would have been, I mean, what a moment for the city this would have been because, in my opinion, would have been on the map. The recruiting would have changed.
Probably.
Everything would have changed about that program. And then Matt Rule leaves a couple years later, and I don't think they've been back to a bowl since.
Yeah, that's a good one, Vince. Thanks so much for that one. Ray, as a Temple person, so this was before you went to school there.
Correct.
Here's the feeling I got from it. I'm walking out, and I still remember it. My son Kyle and I went to the game, and I was like, damn, I'm looking at these Temple fans. It would have been such a huge win. And for Notre Dame, it's just like, we got by that one. All right, let's move on. That's the difference between prominent programs and ones that are trying to get there. But do you remember that game? Or you weren't at that game, were you?
No, I wasn't at that game, and I wasn't at Temple yet. But, I mean, from the perspective of now looking back on it, do you say that it was never the same? I don't know about that because, they go to a bowl game that year. They win the conference in 2016. Even with Collins, and I know he said that he thought since Rule's been gone, they haven't gone to a bowl. They went to a bowl with Collins twice. They went to a bowl in Carey's first year. And then we'll keep it from there. That to me, I don't think that was the downturn point for them. No, I think that was the high point of the wow, game day's here, right. Excitement. But in terms of winning, they get the conference championship the next year. There's other things they've done since then. It's probably the high point in terms of buzz and if they beat Notre Dame, what does it do for them?
Could have been the highest point, right? One of those, yeah.
What could it have done for them? I guess you could start looking at that way of what it could have done for them. I don't know. I think the way college athletics works, you have a Matt Rule, and how long do you have a Matt Rule at Temple?
Yeah. That's true, too.
You know who was on that Temple team?
I remember the redheaded linebacker.
Hassan Reddick.
Oh,
Hassan Reddick was on that Temple squad.
who was it? Matakevich? Was that the
Tyler
name of the kid?
Matakevich, yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was. That kid, he was a great college linebacker.
And that's
Everywhere.
that's Temple when you would get the single-digit number if you were worthy of it. That's why him and Reddick had those single-digit numbers. But speaking of Reddick, I just showed something to Bob during one of the breaks. So the New York Jets are wondering, when's he going to report? What's going on? And there's videos all over Twitter. Hassan Reddick is dressed like a samurai walking around Japan right now.
Yeah.
See those videos, right?
Did you see
Mini
it?
camp's over. I saw the picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you have to start standing up and giving Howie a standing ovation. That
Maybe.
he must have known that this guy, money was a big factor.
I'm not there yet. I'm getting close, though, Bob. I'm getting close, but I still want to see what a new deal looks like because I think New York's going to figure something out. I'd be shocked if Reddick plays under the current deal. So depending on what the new deal is, I'm not ready to give Roseman flowers yet on that move. But if this extends into the season, if the holdout extends, if they have to give him a ton of money, meaning over $25 million a year or something that high, then I'll give Roseman flowers for moving on. But we're going to miss him. We're definitely going to miss Reddick.
And a lot of it has to go to how Bryce Huff performs also, right?
1,000%. Great point.
That's going to be a big part of the comparison. All right, we're kind of closing out this subject. Ray, you say we got some texts on it on most devastating things you've seen in person when it comes to sports?
yeah, we got, of course, a couple of the Tampa loss last
Right.
game at the Vet. Jesse in Allentown said 93 World Series Game 4. It was the only game at 60-plus I went to see that they lost.
So the game 4 in the 93 World Series, was that the wonky like 15-13 game in the mist and the rain?
Yes, I
Was it
believe.
that?
Yeah, that's
Okay. Yeah, because I think the next night, game 5, Schilling threw 143 pitches next game, and they won 2-0 something. I forget. And then they went to Toronto and lost in game 6, if memory serves correct. So, okay, that's a good
the
one.
15-14 loss.
It was 15-14. Okay.
Yeah, that was game 4. Is that what they said?
Yeah,
Game
it
four?
was 93 game
and
4.
if in that game, if I remember, the Phillies had a big lead and wound up blowing it. And it was an awful night. I remember just rainy and cold, and yeah, that was horrible.
Matt from New Jersey checking in with the Eagles Super Bowl loss in Arizona after being up 10 at halftime. Also, Matt lost money in Vegas that weekend, so insult to injury.
A lot of these things, the way people, it's not just what went on in the field. It's what went on like with your wallet, with wherever you were, or things like that.
That one, the Super Bowl. Now, I wasn't there, but if we were just talking about most devastating losses, for me, maybe it's recency bias. That one's there for me because I go back to the 2004 Super Bowl. I think a part of me was just happy that they were there. But you look at that 2022 team, how good they were all season. You're up 10 at halftime against the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is limping off the field into the locker room. It looks like the offense can do whatever they want against that Chiefs defense. That one was devastating.
Any more, Ray?
Yeah, we got a couple more here.
Okay.
Vince in Longcrest. I was 14, sitting on the steps of the 700 level in the pouring rain, watching Tommy John and the Dodgers eliminate the 77 Phillies from the playoffs.
14 and 77. I was a lot younger than that, a little bit. I remember that game again like it was yesterday, and watching the commissioner of baseball, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Bowie Kuhn, and he refused to wipe his face he was drenched, but he sat there like it was 70 and sunny, and people being so ticked off that they allowed that game to go on when it should have been called. It definitely should have been called because of rain. And there was extenuating circumstance, if they would have called the game off, maybe Carlton could have gone with the extra day or something. I forget exactly.
Do you think that it's a coincidence that Tommy John had Tommy John surgery?
Unbelievable, isn't it?
Crazy.
That's crazy stuff.
Couple more here for you. Amanda in Denver and Billy in Utah. Game 6, 2010 Stanley Cup Finals. And there's still...
I was surprised nobody said that. Chicago Blackhawks.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nobody knew the puck was in the net except
No.
for Patrick Kane.
So weird. I still remember looking at it and going, why are they celebrating? What the hell just went on there?
This is another thing that added insult to injury on that one is, so yesterday on the Best Show Ever, Tyrone and I had a comedian in studio who was a Pittsburgh fan. And I was saying to him about what bothers me the most about the Penguins is when they were bad, they got Sidney Crosby, they got Evgeny Malkin, they got Marc-Andre Fleury. When the Flyers were bad, they lose the lottery. Chicago Blackhawks get the number 1 overall pick. The Flyers get the 2nd pick, so they take JVR, and the Blackhawks get Patrick Kane. And then he scores the game-winning goal. It's like the Flyers franchise, talking about the Lindros hit, it's just, they've been cursed a little bit. Since 75, they've been cursed.
Since 75. It is just amazing that any organization, especially one that is considered in the league, you hear it from players and stuff all the time, one of the premier organizations hasn't won a cup since 1975.
We had a question going around the other day on our Instagram about if you could see one athlete that you never were able to see play, and I gave a whole team. I said the Broad Street Bullies because everything I heard from my family growing up was how incredible of a team that was.
That was so cool.
But when you think about it, Ed Snyder for so many years was trying to replicate that Broad Street Bullies type of team, and the Flyers were slow to adjust to the modern NHL, and that's part of the reason they never won a cup.
Yeah, I remember talking to somebody in hockey. I don't think they were with the Flyers organization then. And they said, yeah, the thing that's hurt the Flyers is when they went big, the league got small and fast. When they went small and fast, the league got big. Like they were never ahead. They were always like a little behind there in the way they were going about things. But it is amazing when you look at all the different things. Who was taken, if you remember, Bill, or Ray, you might know. Nolan Patrick was taken number 2 overall. Who went number 1 that year? Because I thought it was somebody really prominent. It was like, oh, if they could have just gotten that number 1 pick. It's not coming to me off the top of my head, and I'm not on our YouTube page now because so many times they're really good at getting that. But look, it
was Nico Hershier.
No, I must have been wrong on that. I don't know. I don't. That name doesn't pop
from
out
Switzerland. Got drafted by the Devils. Did make an NHL All-Star team.
Okay, all right. Yeah,
But
Nolan Patrick hurt by the concussion syndrome thing, which is just awful. Such a shame. But look, Matvei Michkov, he might be the man that turns things around in this city when it comes to hockey, when it comes to things like that. All right, so listen, we have one thing I want to get to. I get sheer joy when I see the mild-mannered, the affable Ray Dunn go off on something. And, Bill, you and I have seen it a few times where we won't even know what's coming, and we'll look at each other and go, oh my God. Like
it could be because Dylan tried to scare him with a bird again.
Oh, he was mad at that. That was, yeah. I was glad I stayed in this studio and had to watch that from afar. You were a little hot the other day.
It's annoying.
Okay.
It's a stupid bird.
It's a stupid bird.
Throw it out.
There's a stupid professional basketball team that you're upset with right now?
Yeah.
Who might that be?
The Chicago Bulls.
What did they do?
Traded Caruso for Josh Giddey. This is the same guy they wouldn't trade at the deadline for multiple firsts. That we had reports they weren't going to trade him for a top 10 pick. This guy was someone, we're holding on to. They're going to hold on to everyone they got so they can go 41-41 and make the play-in, because that's what every organization's dream is, making the play-in tournament. Yet now, in the offseason, they decide they're going to deal with the Oklahoma City Thunder, who, according to just about everyone, holds every draft pick for the next 75 years in the NBA. And they trade for Josh Giddey, who averaged 6 points in the second round series and was benched. The guy has no shot. He is not someone I'm building around if I'm a team that's going to all of a sudden blow it up. Yet they took Alex Caruso, a guy who I would have coveted, would have loved here in Philadelphia, and they decide, beginning of the offseason, know what we're going to do? Just trade Caruso for Josh Giddey. Oh, yeah, that's fine. That's good. That'll work out for us. What in the world are the Bulls doing? Time and time again. They could have unloaded at the deadline and picked up picks for Drummond, picked up picks for Caruso. But no, let's keep this whole thing together. Let's keep everything together. Let's screw the Sixers by not giving them the backup center they want. Let's screw the rest of the league by not trading this guard that could be a difference maker for someone. And let's just make the play-in tournament. It is a disgrace that is the organization that Michael Jordan played for. They don't represent anything that they did back then. It is an awful, awful organization, and it's ruining the rest of the league because they're morons. And I hate them for so much. Yesterday, I get the alert. Caruso's been traded. For what? Josh freaking Getty. He's going to go to the Thunder, make the Thunder the best team in the West, and they could have gotten multiple firsts for that guy. They could have gotten a top 10 pick for him. Nah, it's all right. We're just going to start the offseason off by offloading this guy to Oklahoma City for Josh freaking Getty. Give me a break with this Chicago Bulls crap. I hate that organization. They should actually take that organization and send it to Seattle. They don't deserve it anymore.
Wow.
I don't know when to jump in here, but ladies and gentlemen, Ray Dunn letting it go on the Chicago Bulls. Good job, Raymond. I'm proud of you.
I hate them.
I love when you have enough anxiety build up that you can, release it on these very airwaves. Good job by you, Chicago Bulls. That's from Ray
Would
Dunn.
you not have wanted Caruso?
Yeah, I would have minded him. Yeah.
I mean, Getty. That's the return?
Yeah. Well, you know what the Sixers have to trade right now? Nothing.
They got picks that are more valuable than Josh Giddey.
Yeah, but they don't have a player to give up.
So what? You could have $65 million in cap space.
Yeah, but clearly Chicago wanted a player. I'm not saying that they made the right choice.
For what? What do they want a player for? They've got nothing going for them.
Yeah. No, you make a great point, Ray. Very good tirade.
I hate them so much.
I am so proud of you. 12 o'clock hour, it's brought to you by Service First Heating and Air Conditioning. Get 0% financing, 72 months, and a $500 rebate when you purchase a complete heating and cooling system from Service First. Learn more at servicefirsthvac.com. All right, when we get back, we're going to try to ice Ray down a little bit, get him a little cooler. The face is very, very red. But I have a question. Whenever this question is asked of people when it comes to the Phillies, it's one of these no-brainer answers. Oh, yeah. No, I don't agree with it. I don't think it's a no-brainer. I think that question has already been answered. I'll let you know what I'm talking about. Larry Bowe is going to join us at 1 o'clock today. And don't forget, last week report comes up at 1:30 today. This is Middays, Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Thanks for being with us on this warm Friday. But what do you expect for late June? Ray, you already know the weather for the rest of the weekend without looking it up because I gave it to you. So your status quo and the way you go through life, that you never have to look at weather because somebody's going to let you know.
Didn't you say it was going to rain tonight?
Earlier in the week I did. I thought I saw that it was going to rain tonight. I haven't looked recently. I hope so because a lot of people's grass need it. I would like to I water my back. We don't have a sprinkler system. I water my backyard because there's all flowers and stuff back there, and I'm in charge of that, so I water the lawn back there. But, yeah, a lot of people's front lawns, they look like straw. All right, Ray, you had a softball game last night, right?
Yes.
What was the final score?
17-7.
All right, that's a little too many. How many hits did you have?
2.
No, it's too few. How many runs did you score?
3.
How many times were you on base?
3.
All right, what did you say the losing team score was? 7?
7.
All right, let's do that then. 7th caller to 215-263-0975. You are going to win today's first pair of FanFest tickets. 215-263-0975. You are going to win 2 pair of tickets to FanFest. FanFest 2024 with FanDuel. It's on Saturday, September 28th at Xfinity Live. All of us are going to be there. Everybody that works here at the station. We're going to have celebrity guests, Philly sports legends, activities, games, prizes. So much fun to be had. It's the biggest party of the year for Philadelphia sports fans. You can listen all week and this weekend where you're going to hear Bill and you're going to hear Ray. To win tickets, go to 975thefanatic.com for all the details, including info for our online ticket rates, which will be starting up soon. One of the greatest days of the year. It is so much fun just to get together with everybody, watch all the sports legends that come about. We'll interview some of your favorite Philly sports players, and it is just a great day. And it's with FanDuel, so we're giving away our first pair of tickets today. We're going to give away another pair a little bit later. All right, Bill, when it comes up to the Philadelphia Phillies, and we are talking about the team with the best winning percentage in all of baseball, tied with the Yankees and Orioles, but nonetheless, we know how good this Phillies team is. We've talked about how do you need to tweak a little bit to, help the outfield or this and that. There's always something else that comes up. And I got to tell you, I'm not there. And it is this. What do the Phillies need by the trade deadline? Here's the line that I hear all the time. And not that it makes me cringe, but I shake my head no every time I hear it. Oh, well, you can always use another bullpen arm. I don't think this team needs it. And I heard somebody else come on the other day. Ray, you might remember, or Bill, I don't know if it was on a show you were on or if it was after us. Somebody came on, a guest, and said, a closer. It might have been on our show. Oh, you might need a closer, some guy that's a definitive guy that you can bring in the 9th inning. I got to tell you, I think this Phillies bullpen is set. I'm okay with it. I don't need to bring in someone. I know that you can say, oh, you need another arm. They have other arms. Like Sir Anthony Dominguez just went on a run of not allowing an earned run since May 3rd. Like that wasn't somebody you were really counting on. There he is. Boom. You already have all the really good guys in the bullpen, and I still think you have enough arms there. Do you think it's a necessity, Bill, that they go out and get another bullpen arm before the trade deadline?
I don't think it's a need, but it's a want, and it's probably something. I know you don't like when it's said you could always use another bullpen arm. You can't have enough of them. You can't have enough of them in a postseason run. So if you're asking me in order of priority what I want to see them address, for me it wouldn't be the bullpen. It would be the outfield first and foremost. Second would probably be an upgraded utility player because what you're getting from Whit Merrifield is nothing at this point. So I would put probably reliever third on the list of priorities, but I do think that you can't have enough arms for a long postseason run.
Well, you're gaining some in the postseason, let's not forget, because usually you're just going with 3 starters anyway, right? Because of the time lapse in games, like 3 starters. So Christopher Sanchez is probably going to become a reliever in your bullpen. And maybe Taijuan Walker, although they didn't even use him at all last year, maybe that's a guy that you're using in the bullpen. I don't know. I hear it all the time, and I understand it. But I really don't think it's a need with this team because of how good they've been. And then, if Gregory Soto, I don't want to say gets right, but gets better. And Sir Anthony Dominguez, oh, my God, yeah, everybody was down on him, but look how good he was pitching. Gave up 3 runs the other night. But I don't know. I think there might be enough there.
Don't forget the adopted son of the show, Junior Marte's coming back.
Can't forget him.
You can't forget him.
Can't, right?
But, look, when you say need, I think that, yes, you could make the argument that this Phillies team doesn't need anything because they have the best winning percentage in baseball, so they don't need anything. But when we're being greedy and we're looking for World Series or bust, to me, to add another reliever can't hurt.
Okay, right. What do you are you of the? Yeah, you can always use another arm. Now that's it's a very broad statement that so many put out there, and I do understand it. But if you do bring another bullpen arm, who's it replacing? Like what I'm saying is, who's he replacing? Soto? So you're talking about a third left-handed reliever? Do you have to go that far down? Like
Jose Ruiz,
who's been pretty good this year?
Yeah, I mean that's been great. It's been very nice to have him be really good. I don't know if you can get a proven backline commodity versus a guy that we're thrilled is doing something well at the major league level. I mean, I think that's the sacrifice you make on that one. Now, Soto, I think, is someone they believe that they can harness it. They can get him back right to what they traded for when they traded for him. I think that ultimately, yeah, you would like another bullpen arm. It's not a need per se. It's not something that I look at and it's like, whoa, boy, they're an arm short there. But we're talking about the Diamondbacks this weekend. Go back to Game 4 of that series against the Diamondbacks last year. Part of the reason is Walker's on your roster. But whatever, you look at they had what 8 pitchers pitch in that Game 4. Yeah, they went all the way. They all ended up getting to Kimbrel. We ended up seeing Kimbrel come out there. Like, the idea you can't have enough arms is a cliche for a reason. I think if you can add to the back of that bullpen, if you look at what would be, you mentioned having 3 starters. That Game 4 ended up being started by Christopher Sanchez, but he goes less than 3 innings. So then you're filling 6+ innings of work from your bullpen. Ultimately, that's what you have to have. You have to have a bullpen that I think is deep enough to do that. And I think we saw it 2 years ago in 2022 where the Astros just had arm after arm after arm they could throw at you. You were rolling at that point, and your bullpen was nowhere near as deep at that point for the Phillies side, but you're basically throwing Sir Anthony and Jose Alvarado at every tough situation saying, all right, you got this time, right? All right, good. Now you have way more options, and it's wonderful to have. But at the deadline, absolutely, I'm looking to see if, hey, all right, is there someone else that's maybe not necessarily closer per se, but, hey, another guy that's handled a lot of high-leverage situations that I think could come in here and become the 6th guy in that bullpen, the 5th, 6th guy in this bullpen, maybe elevate themselves in terms of their role? Yeah, absolutely.
So Bill put it out there like it's 3rd on the list, which I thought was the way I'm looking at it, I guess. Where does it rank as
2.
far as right behind outfield?
Behind outfield, yeah.
Now, if you were told you could only... Well, no, I don't want to say that because you said outfield is 1.
Yeah, if I can only do 1, it's the outfield. But
it's more of a luxury than a have to have. Is that fair to say?
Yes, I would agree with that. I would say the idea of the utility or like the 4th outfielder thing, I would prefer to go the bullpen route than just adding that utility. Like, assuming they add an outfielder and you're like, all right, what's the second move? We go in another outfielder? We go in somewhere else to play the positions? Nah, I'm cool. I'll go for a bullpen arm instead of that.
How about that? Now, MBDBF on our YouTube page says the reason you can always use another bullpen arm is because starters only go through the lineup twice in the playoffs. Soto shouldn't be on the playoff roster. Only go through the order twice, 6 innings at most. Fair to say?
You get the luxury of having Wheeler, who goes 3 times through a lineup. You get the luxury of Nola, who probably will go 2 to potentially 3 times through a lineup. Yeah. Ranger, I imagine after this season, you're going to trust more to go through the lineup than you have in previous seasons. Like, I don't think you see a Ranger Suarez Game 1 scenario in Atlanta last year.
Where was that, 4 innings?
No, he was going sooner than that.
I'm sorry. I was thinking of the NLCS where he had like a 4 and a 3rd inning game.
Yeah, like I think he gets a longer leash there. I'm thinking about from the scenario of, okay, if I go through those first 3 games, if for some reason I use my bullpen, what do I have that fourth? Like, I'm thinking the 7-game series here. I think they have more than enough to throw at a team over a 5-game series, and they should have more firepower than anyone else in a 7-game series. But hey, let me grab one more nice arm.
Yeah, I hear you. The why not? That screams luxury to me, right? Yeah, let's go get one. Why not? That screams luxury more than it does need. I mean, obviously, we're going to see a lot more play out. Like, I don't know. Maybe a Soto doesn't come around. Maybe a Sir Anthony, what he gave up the other night, maybe that turns into a downfall. And you're saying, obviously in baseball, you have to play things out because it is such a long season. But I guess my question ultimately, Bill, then is, with the bullpen currently constructed, are you confident that can win you a World Series?
Yeah, I think the bullpen's good enough. I think they're more than good enough to win a World Series. So, to answer your question, yes. And Ray, I think you would have to agree, right? I mean, it's definitely good enough.
Absolutely.
It's funny. I equated this the other night, too, and this is like a pet peeve of mine. And we saw it with Castellanos the other night, running on contact. I swear I can't stand it. I understand it, but at times I can't stand it. When the ball is right in front of you and you see what's going on, and although the rule is you're running on contact, if you're going to be an easy out, you can't be doing it. And, like, there are so many times. Do you guys agree or not with this? Like, there's so many times, I don't know, guys on second base, balls hit the third, and he has to run because it's on contact, and the third baseman just goes and tags him out. Or the other night, Castellanos is on third, and a ball's hit the short, and he breaks for home, and he's out by 20 feet. Like, that's one of my pet peeves in sports.
Is the running on contact?
Especially when it runs right into an out and it's right there in front of you. But
there's been some questionable base running decisions by the Phillies this year.
But there's also been some great ones.
There has. That's
like
why it's
Harper going to third the other night on a single, right?
Yeah, so you're going to have to live and die by them being aggressive on the base pass. I don't mind being aggressive, but sometimes they do make some stupid decisions. But you're right. Harper the other night, it's a big. I mean, if you can go first to third, we've seen them all do some good things on the base pass this season. But
yeah, so
I don't mind the going on contact because I know what you mean, though. You're at second and it goes to third. But how many times does it help you when they're running on contact and they're able to score because of it?
Yeah, when it's an obvious out, I just wish it would be like, all right, it's up to you. If it's right in front of you, don't go for it. But that's just one of my little pet peeves. All right, when we get back, Larry Bowe's going to join us at 1 o'clock, so we're going to talk Phillies with him. Also, there was some news this morning about Paul George, and it's kind of weird. I went into to Ray's studio during the last break, and the highlight on ESPN, the headline on ESPN was, what team is better for Paul George, Clippers or 76ers? So while the term interest has waned when it comes to the Sixers has been thrown out there today about Paul George, it looks like it's a two-team race maybe. So we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get back. This is Middays. Bill Colarulo with us all day long. I'm Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Approaching 1 o'clock here on this hot, muggy Friday. Typical June day. First day of summer, I believe. Didn't summer turn yesterday afternoon? And today's the first full day of summer, I think, something like that. Okay. Is everything all right in there? I worry. No. I get one no and one yes. So
it's fine. You know, cordial. I'm not going to be here. So she's smiling. She's very happy.
She is Silvana. My dad used to always cringe whenever you called someone she. I swear to by name. That's all he would say. By name. Like, oh, sorry, Silvana. So I'm not going to say that to you, Ray, but there is growing tension between the two, Silvana and Ray, that none of us can figure out. We tried to do so the other day. Silvana came just short of telling me that she hates Ray. So I was a little perplexed by it all, but I don't want to dive too deep. Bill, sometimes people just have beef that you can't understand.
So this is interesting because there was the beef between the best show ever and the morning show, but the midday show was supposed to be kind of Switzerland in all of this, but now you're telling me Silvana's got an issue with Ray, so there's a lot of show-on-show crime going on here.
Yeah, it's ugly because, you know, they're the younger people of the station, and, you know, you look, kumbaya isn't always going to happen, but to see the vitriol between the two of them, it's disheartening, and you know. So, Sil, if you could just leave that studio as soon as you could, please, so that Ray can just do his job happily, as opposed with the sour. You're like his Chicago Bulls, Sil. I hate to say it, but you are his Chicago Bulls. But all right, I realized something yesterday, Bill. I was driving home from the golf outing, and I'm thinking about today's show and different things that we can do. And I'm just thinking of all the teams. I swear on my life, this is what popped into my head. And I feel real about this. I just want things to be the way they were before. In what way? What are you talking about? What sport? In what? I'm talking baseball. I'm talking the Philadelphia Phillies. I am on an island here. I want Johan Rojas back in center field. I want Brandon Marsh playing left field. And I want, when JT Realmuto comes back, I want to stick with it. Let's go. Like, that was the lineup that got you to by far the best record in baseball before Realmuto got hurt. I don't think Johan Rojas was playing his best baseball defensively. I think he needed a little, come here, son. It's your first full year in the league. We've anointed you starting center fielder because of the way you play the defensive position. Stop being so nonchalant about it. Stop catching the ball with one hand and jogging in. Stop nonchalantly throwing to the wrong base. I need you 100% dialed in for 27 outs when you're in that outfield, and let's go, because he is a great defensive center fielder. I'm okay with Brandon Marsh hitting eighth and Johan Rojas hitting ninth, and that's your left fielder and center fielder. What say you on that? Because when JT Realmuto does return, that's what it is. 8-hole hitter Brandon Marsh playing left field, 9-hole hitter Johan Rojas playing center field.
And where's Cassidy in that lineup?
He's in right field. He's batting seventh.
He's batting seventh. So my only argument to you, Bob, is yes, they had the best record in baseball, and you can only play who's in front of you, so I don't want to make the argument of, well, look who they've played, but I'm going to make that argument with regard to the lineup not being perfect, because the goal isn't for them just to have the best record in baseball, especially not the best record in baseball June 21st. The goal is to win a World Series. So when I look at Rojas in center and Marsh in left, to me, that leaves a weakness in your lineup. I'm striving for perfection if they can get there.
Sure.
And if you tell me at the trade deadline that nobody became available and they're going to call up Rojas again and they're going to go with the lineup that you're saying, I'm still all in on this team. I'm still expecting them to go to the World Series and hopefully win the damn thing. But as we sit here June 21st and I'm nitpicking and saying, hey, I want to be greedy, I want them to put the best lineup possible out on the field every night. To me, Rojas and Marsh isn't the best possible lineup if there's another player available.
If there's another player available, totally understand that. And I'm the guy that before the season started said I wanted a little more pop between those two positions. However, after watching it and after realizing, and look, there was a play the other day that a lot of people said in center, yeah, Marsh didn't get to it. Rojas would have gotten to it. You have hitters 1 through 7 that include, come on, Schwarber, Harper, Trey Turner, we know the likes, Real Muto, Bohm, Stott. That's a good lineup. If I'm getting great defensive play from my 8 and 9 hole hitters in the outfield, I think I'm okay. If you can't get anything better, I don't know. I think I want Rojas back, Ray. Am I nuts?
At this point, yeah, you're nuts. You've already gone to putting him down there. Let's not do the whole call him back up here and make things work. I think that at this point, they've decided where they're going with this. They want him to develop. Earlier today, you were talking about the swing that you want to see better from him. They've described what they want in terms of defense, bunting, all they want him to work on. So, yeah, at this point, you're crazy for wanting him back now because you already made the decision to send him down. We were very clear about this earlier this week when all this was happening that, hey, all things are equal. I don't think he's the piece I move on from that outfield. All things were not equal. There's a business aspect of all this. They want to see what they've got. They want to make sure they don't give up on someone that has something for them. I was not of the camp, really, that again, all things were equal, he should be the one that goes down. I'm still not of that belief, but now that he's already down there, no. We're not just turning back the clock to a week ago. Let him work on what he has to work on. I think they're true when they say their best version of this team includes him in center field.
Yes. I am, like I said before, Christian Pache, thanks. Good luck wherever you wind up next. I'm good with that. But, yeah, I just had this overwhelming feeling yesterday. Maybe it was the hot dogs and sausage that I had at the golf outing that I wanted Johan Rojas back here in center. I want things the way they were. Sentimental Bob, I guess. All right, when we get back, Larry Bowa, former Philly, great Philly manager, all-time baseballer. Larry Bowa will be joining us at 1 o'clock. Stick with us. Keith on the line. I'll get to you when we can. This is Middays. Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Hope you're having a great Friday leading into the weekend. We have you for another hour. Before we hand you off to the best show ever, Tyrone, Ricky, and Silvana, we'll be there to take you through the rest of the afternoon. One of the great... I want to tell Larry Bowe, who's on our Comcast Business Hotline, is our next guest here. Larry, I have to tell you this, and thanks for joining us. One of the first common thing my wife and I had in sports when we first met each other was when we realized that Larry Bowe was both of our favorite baseball player growing up.
Wow.
How do you like that? So you are responsible for 31 years of marriage.
Well, I appreciate that.
How you doing? You good?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you, Bob.
Good. So, Larry, we're talking a lot about this Phillies team, what's going on right now, the outfield situation. I just spoke that I thought that the arms in the bullpen was enough and all. So a lot going on. But you came and joined us at the Brian Dawkins golf outing, and you said that this team had a chip on its shoulder, specifically because of what happened with this Arizona Diamondbacks team. In a 162-game season, can you, get more up for a series than you do others, or is this business as usual and you just move on this weekend?
Well, I think they've had that chip since opening day. I mean, since the last out, I should say, last year. Obviously, there might be a little bit more adrenaline because they're looking across the field and see the team that basically eliminated them from getting to another World Series. But I think they've played max effort from day one. That's all they talked about in the clubhouse in spring training is we have to go to the next level. And so I don't know if I can say they're going to try harder, but I think in the back of their minds they know that the team they're playing this weekend knocked them out. And I think it might be just a little bit extra adrenaline, but for the most part, they've been doing this all year. It's a fun team to watch right now.
Larry, let's talk about Bryson Stott for a second, because Castellanos gets a lot of heat for going into these long droughts, but Bryson Stott's a guy that we expected to maybe be a 300 hitter this year. You just haven't seen it yet. What does he need to do to get back to the player you saw last year?
Well, I and this is not making an excuse for him, but I've watched almost every game. He's hit some balls right at people this year. I don't know what the luck average is this year for him. I believe with you, 280 to 300, I think he's going to do that every year. I do see a hot streak coming. He's hit some balls the other way this last series. I think when he stays in the middle of the field a little bit more, he's a good player. He doesn't make mental mistakes, puts the ball in play. But I agree with you. He the 240, 245, he's much better than that. But I have a feeling watching the games and watching the balls that he's hit hard have been caught. And I don't like to make excuses for the kid, but I still think he's going to end up around 270 this year. I really do.
We're talking to the legend Larry Bowe on the Comcast Business Hotline. And, Larry, I brought this up earlier today. When you talk trade deadline, with any team, any year, the line always comes out, and you got to get another bullpen arm. I was kind of diving deep into it in my head yesterday, and I'm thinking, okay, I know you're always looking to improve, and this is one of the best teams in baseball right now. That doesn't mean you don't want to improve. But do you think it's a necessity or more of a luxury that they have to go out and get a bullpen arm?
I don't think it's a necessity. It could be a luxury the more you get down there. Back end guy. We already got 3 guys that can close up, maybe 4 the way Sir Anthony's throwing right now. To be honest with you, Bob, if they said, and I don't, knowing Dave, he's going to probably do something. But if they said this is what you got, go with it, I wouldn't at all be unhappy with that. I like the makeup of this team. I like the chemistry. I like the power arms at the back. I love the rotation. And I just feel that this offense is going to do what they have to do. Harper's and Schwarb look like they're starting to heat up. Cassidy swinging better. Bohm's had a tremendous year. Turner's going to get back in there again. I see nothing but positive things on this ball club. But I know people, fans, they want to see something done. You also have to understand, and Dave knows this more than anybody, you don't want to mess up the chemistry of the clubhouse and all that. It's really a good clubhouse. Rob Thompson and the coaches have done a tremendous job with that. And the players have all bought in. The guys that aren't playing every day, they understand their role. So, like I said, I would be willing to say go with it, but I'm sure some fans would like to see maybe a bat. But, I'm not all into the bat. I think this ball club has enough offense. If you had to put something, if you had to, I would probably say maybe some at the back end of the bullpen.
Larry,
I'm happy with the way the bullpen is right now.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, no, the bullpen's been great, but Larry, there's been a lot of talk about the bats in the outfield, and we'll see what happens at the trade deadline, but we're hearing that Edmundo Sosa practicing a little bit in left field, Cody Clements maybe practicing a little bit in left field. How tough of a transition is that for someone who's played mainly infield to transition to left field?
I think it's pretty tough. I mean, especially if you're playing left field. You know, left-handed hitters hit balls that slice away from you, and nobody's going to play in right. And center field right now, it looks like it might be Marsh, and if there's a tough lefty, they could put Pache out there. I know. Rojas had a great night last night. I think he either went 4 for 4 or 5 for 5 last night at AAA. So, left field would probably be a situation where they could platoon, but it's going to take more than just taking some fly balls there. You got to take balls off the bat, game situations, cutting off doubles, playing no doubles. It's easy to say, stick them out in left field. They're athletic enough, the guys that you mentioned, Sosa, and I think Clemens is taking some balls, going to take some balls out there. They're very athletic guys, but it's not as easy as people think.
Larry, I was driving home yesterday from the Michael Barkan golf outing, and it came over me in waves. And this happens in sports. I'm thinking about today's show. I knew I wanted to try to get you to be a guest today. And I thought to myself, I want things to be the way they were just a couple of weeks ago. This Johan Rojas situation, I want to see him as the everyday center fielder. And it just hit me yesterday. Is that good enough if you have him batting ninth in center, Marsh batting eighth and left, and then Castellanos, and you said he's coming around, in right hitting seventh? Is that lineup good enough for you?
For me, it is. I'm a stickler on pitching and defense. And no matter what people say, Rojas is an unbelievable center fielder. Do we want him to hit more than 230 or 225? Yes. No question about that. But my thing on that is, if we're worried about Rojas hitting offensively, we could be in a world of trouble. We got a bunch of guys that could do damage. If you're worried about one guy, I know they want him to do little things better, bunt more, don't try to hit the ball out of the ballpark, go gap to gap, keep the ball in the middle of the field. Those are things he's got to work on. And I know the last 2 games he got sent down, I looked at the reports. He's tried to bunt both times because I think Rob said, you have to try to bunt once a game. I don't care if you pop it up. I don't care what you do. There's got to be an attempt there. And he's done that. I know it's only been a couple games. But they sort of mapped out what they want him to do. They like him. And, and if you look at the roster, we had some roster issues. Pache is out of options. I'm trying to think of the other guy that was out of options. Dahl's out of options.
Right.
They don't want to lose guys just because. And I don't think Rojas got sent down because he had an option. I think they wanted him to work on certain things, getting better jumps on stealing bases, being able to score, secondary lead. In Baltimore, he got thrown out with 2 outs on a ball hit to right field, and it wasn't because of lack of speed or effort. He didn't have a good secondary lead. And these little things magnify, especially when you're going for a pennant, and at that time it was a big run. So they got him working on some certain things. I'm sure he'll be back here. But personally, when you get the kind of club we have, I like pitching and defense. I think our big boys are going to hit. They're going to do damage. And I don't think us winning a pennant or World Series is going to depend if Rojas hits 270 or not. I really don't believe that.
All right, good. It's good to know I'm on the same page with you. But, Larry, is it easier for a guy to work at things at AAA because the games don't, and air quotes here, matter as far as, championships and stuff like that? Because some people are of the ilk of, well, why not keep them up here and work on those things where you probably have better coaching and you are facing what he's going to face at the end of the year should they bring him back?
Well, you're going under a magnifying glass in the big league, not just Philly, anywhere you go. You go to drag bump with a man on third with an out, you pop it up, and it ends up, people are going to let you know about it. Down at AAA, I'm not saying they're going to let you know about it, but you're not under the magnifying glass on every single at bat. Every time if you get thrown out stealing the base, I think it's a more relaxed atmosphere where worked on things. You can't work on things up here. You got to get it done up here. And down there, I think you can work on some liabilities that they say that you have, and it could go unnoticed. The fans they're out there to have a good time, and if you win, great. If you lose, it's not the end of the world. Whereas when you're going for a pennant and want to get to a World Series again, every mistake you make is going to be magnified, especially if you happen to lose a game because of a mistake you made.
Larry, we lost a great one this week in Willie Mays. How incredible of a baseball player was he?
Unbelievable. I mean, if you 5 tools, there's nothing he couldn't do. They had a story I'll be able to maybe relate to you. Somebody said when he was at New York towards the end of his career, there was a guy that wrote stories and had him the 3rd greatest of all time. And somebody in the clubhouse said, hey, I want you to meet this guy. And I don't know who the author of the book was, but he went up to him and he said, this is so-and-so. And Willie Mays says, I'm the 3rd greatest, huh? And the guy says, yeah, that's pretty good. And he goes, obviously, you didn't see me play in my prime. You saw me at the tail end of my career. So if you want to go look at some video, that 3 might go up to 1. So, I mean, this guy was unbelievable. I mean, there's nothing on the baseball field that he couldn't do. If you needed a stolen base, if you needed a home run, if you needed a single, if you needed a walk, if you needed a great play, if you needed to score from first on a double, there's nothing he couldn't do on the baseball field. I was fortunate. I was at the beginning of my career, but I got to meet him, and it was like, wow, you talk about in awe of somebody. I remember having all his baseball cards and everything, but he was one of a kind. There's no question about that. And he's going to be missed big time in the baseball world.
Talking about eras, Larry, whether it's basketball, baseball, football, whatever the sport. I love talking about eras. And the other day, we were talking about it on the show in different sports and players, if they could relate. I just so happened to go on Twitter, and it was the introduction of, like, the 1969 National League All-Stars. And it's oh, my God, look at all these players. So I want to ask you, as a guy that, played back then and had so many stars back then, has the game changed as far as individual dominance now from when it was like back when you had Mays and Ashburn and McCovey and Stargell and all those guys and Schmidt? Those guys. Has it changed a lot?
No, those guys can play now.
Is there as many now as there were then? Is why I guess what my question is.
There's a lot now. There are a lot now, but the game is so much different now. You got guys supposedly throwing 98, and like I said, the gun back then registered the ball crossing home plate. The gun today registers the ball out of the hand. Nolan Ryan threw over 100 miles an hour. Obviously, it probably registered at 95. So the only difference that I see, the pitchers back then could throw hard and locate. You got pitchers now that throw hard and have no idea where the ball's going. You got relievers, and I'll be the first to admit, I think it's harder to hit from the 6th inning on now because you never face the guy 4 times. You might face him twice, maybe 3 times, and then from the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th inning, usually managers bring in specialties. The guy pitches the 6th, you got the 7th, you got the 8th, and it's very difficult to get your timing in that. So back in the day, you were used to facing a starter going into the 7th, possibly the 8th inning, and even a complete game. So I do think it's much harder to face those guys on an everyday basis where, another guy's coming in the 6th. Oh, here comes another guy in the 8th. But as far as the superstars, there's a lot of superstars now. There's no question about that. They're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger. The game's played at a different mentality now. The strategy's different. But those guys that you mentioned, they could play now. They could play 20 years from now. And there's some guys that are playing today that could have played 20 years back when we played.
It just brings, I'll leave you with this, Larry, asking this question. Who was the scariest starting pitcher you ever faced?
It's not even close, Bob Gibson. Not because
good. All right, I wrote it down. I was hoping you were going to say that.
He was just mean. I mean, he had. That's what I think. Another issue that nobody talks about. Those great pitchers back then, they had an attitude, and if you took swings and fell across home plate, you better be aware the next pitch is going to be up and in. And they weren't patting their chest to say, my bad. They would take 3 steps toward the catcher to get the ball. And that attitude was permeated through the whole league. Those pitchers had a mean streak. They were different. And now when somebody throws up and in, the guy's patting his heart and saying, my bad, and that part would have never played. But Bob Gibson was not only was he great, not only was he a great athlete, he played for the Harlem Globetrotters, but he had a mean streak in him that you could see it when he was on the mound.
I gave a stat on Gibson last week. It was from 1968, and it was every one of his outings and how many innings he pitched. Never less than 7, and he only went 2-7 to begin the year. It was all 9, 8s, 12s, and 11s for the rest of the year.
Well, the way the Gays played it, they wouldn't let him do it now because they said your arm would blow out. But the other thing you guys might want to check is check the innings pitch those guys did. It was Carlton and those guys had 150 at the break. And now, if you have 150 over the course of the season, you're considered a horse. So
I think I saw where Jim Bunning, in his last season of pitching, had 33 out of 36 complete games.
That's unbelievable. And you know what, Bob? In all fairness, I think these pitchers would like to go deep. It's the way it's set up now. The analytics tell you this is the way you got to do it. But if you ask every one of the pitchers that pitch now that they're in a rotation, they would probably say, "I'd love to go 9 innings. I want a complete game. I want to throw 130 pitches." It's just the way the game is structured now that won't allow them to do that.
Well, Larry, you know how much fun I always have talking to you. I really appreciate you joining us today, and we will talk to you in the near future.
All right, sounds good, Bob. You guys have a good day.
All right, thanks, Larry. The great Larry Boa joining us there. I know. Bill looked at me at the radio. We're only supposed to hold on to guests for so long. I could sit and talk to Larry Boa all day long. I love that. I never knew that about Bob Gibson, that he also played for the Harlem Globetrotters, he said?
I didn't know that.
That's
I'm
pretty
looking
amazing. Yeah, Bob Gibson, for those, it was a while ago, and I don't remember seeing him.
Yeah, he did.
How about that? I don't remember seeing him as a player, but my dad told stories to me about Bob Gibson that were just unbelievable.
There's that great story where Dusty Baker said what Hank Aaron told him. And this is the quote. "Don't dig in against Bob Gibson. He'll knock you down." He'd knock down his own grandmother. Don't stare at him. Don't smile at him. Don't talk to him. He doesn't like it. If you happen to hit a home run, don't run too slow. Don't run too fast. If you want to celebrate, get to the tunnel first. And if he hits you, don't charge the mound because he's a Golden Gloves boxer.
Yeah, he's just. I knew Larry. It was between Nolan Ryan and Bob Gibson, I thought, when I asked Larry who the toughest starter to ever face was. But, yeah, Bob Gibson, I think I told this story before. One time Tim McCarver got up. I think he threw 2 balls or something like that. And McCarver got up and started to go out to the mound. And Gibson just, went off the mound towards him and said, "Get the hell back there. I don't tell you how to catch. You don't tell me how to pitch." And it was like McCarver says he turned right around and got behind home plate. Yeah, my dad always told me one of the scariest. And, Jim G says it on our YouTube page. We often talk about this. People you would love to have seen play back in the day. Bob Gibson is probably in my top 5. That's how much my dad ingrained him into my mind.
A 4-year stretch from 66 to 69 where he had a 2.08 ERA over 1,000 innings.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I think he had, what do you have, the 1 year? For a year, he was like 121?
112 in 68.
112. I did him wrong. In 68. So that was the year that I just read to you that he went all those innings.
304 and 2/3 innings in 68.
Oh, my God. Yeah, so I love talking about eras. I love talking to guys from different eras and you guys who appreciate probably this era, not appreciate, but look at it differently than the way I would in different ways. I think that's one of the fun things about sports. Okay, when we get back, it's the highlight of the week, many call it. My daughter and wife love it. That's right. It's Last Week Report, where we look at some of the, funny little things that may have happened or not happened here on the program.
Not happened.
This is Middays. Bob Cooney, 97.5, The Fanatic. I apologize on behalf of Ray and Silvana for whatever's going on between them. But so I'll throw the question out to you that was brought to us during the break, and we welcome, for the last half hour, welcome all of you. Thanks for being with us. Hope you're having a great Friday. Middays with Bob Cooney. We got Bill Colarulo and the questionable Ray Dunn, because so he and Silvana are talking, Bill, during our break there. I go to we have a button that we can press it, only the producer can hear us, and the people in there. And I said, Silvana, get away from him. Like, I don't want this animosity to carry over into anything. So they laugh, ha, ha, ha. Silvana then comes in and says, who's more likely to get robbed walking down a street? A person with an ice cream cone in their hand or one without an ice cream cone in their hand? And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
Who comes up with these questions?
So she tried to blame it on Ray. She goes, oh, Ray came up with it. I was just answering his question. And I said, Ray did not come up with that.
That's a lie.
She's a liar, right? So then I got to the forefront of it where you said you feel like having some ice cream, and then she came up with this convoluted question. Am I correct?
Yes. Pretty much. That was like the essence of it. I was walking home last night. I was like, oh, maybe I should go get some ice cream. I didn't go get the ice cream. And then she decided that this was going to turn into an unfortunate scenario for me where ice cream was either my line of defense or not my line of defense. I don't know how the brain works on that one.
It's almost like she wants you to get robbed at this point. That's what I'm looking at.
Kind of feels like it. That
Right?
was the first thing that jumped to her mind.
I got your back on this, Ray. All right, I have Ray's back on that. This next segment that we have will show you that Ray has my back on nothing. That's because during the week, we do the last week report.
Yes, it's our show of accountability. You know, we want to make sure everyone knows that we make mistakes just like anyone else. And Bob, this one has been a pretty egregious one for you. I'll be honest. I think we're going to have to sit you down and teach you about this guy.
All right, I'm just telling you, I am not speaking at all until this segment is done because I don't want to confuse the people as to what I'm saying right now or as to what you played as a mistake, because I could very well make one while we're playing this segment. So the mic is yours.
The Phillies utility player in which they signed this offseason. His name is?
Whitfield could be your fourth outfielder.
Oh, very light hitting.
Whit Merrifield, Bob. Please, I'm begging you. Whit Merrifield, all right? Now, of course, I had a rough week. This is going to be the most I've been featured all week. So we'll just start playing him. And why over 1 million small businesses, why over 1 million small business owners, not great for me.
No, that's horrible, actually.
Yeah, update reads there. Hey, I thought you weren't talking.
It was you, so they're not getting confused.
Okay, sounds good. Speaking of someone that's not either one of us, Amy Fadul. And she was trying to talk about the weather.
One of the things I gave him was meteorology. What did I say?
I don't know what she was going for, but I appreciate her effort there. Bob, you've been trying to promote FanFest for quite a bit now. We just need you to clean it up, okay? It's a fun event. We want people to get there.
FanFest is on a day in Saturday.
I believe a day in September is where you were going for that.
He knew what I meant.
Yeah, so you've gotten quite upset with this segment. So much so last week when you were here, you tuned into the segment to get upset with it. The problem with you tuning into it last week is you weren't really sure what day you were listening to the radio.
I'm driving in Bumblefart County, Carolina, or Virginia, wherever it was. And, yeah, we turn on 1:30 on Saturday and we listen.
1:30 on a Saturday. That's Kevin Cooney and D. Lynham tomorrow.
I was listening to the replay on YouTube at 1:30 on Saturday.
Which doesn't make any sense because when you were driving
just go to
through...
the next one and shut up.
I'm just saying, it just didn't make a lot of sense. I wanted to just play that out for you. But we'll continue with a little bit of, I don't want to call it an egregious miss, but a very funny miss by you and Amy. This is both of you.
When they introduced him and Josh Richardson also?
Yes.
Talking about Andrew Bynum. Wrong Richardson. Jason was the Richardson.
What did I say?
Josh.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But I was surprised on that.
It was also at the, we also had the wrong place of where it was. I don't know if you picked up on that.
No.
That was actually Amy.
Oh.
Yeah, but I figured you didn't pick up on that, sure, because it wasn't me.
Anyway, so the Phillies utility player, his name is what?
You have that in Whitfield? You do know I do this for your pleasure and your pleasure.
No, you don't. The Whitfield, we were starting to get text on this.
Oh, geez, not text.
Tell Bob. His name's Whit Merrifield. Speaking of misnomers for the Phillies, I had their hitting coach as a longtime NBA veteran. Given what Kevin Love, I'll put that one there. Kevin Long is all about. We were talking about Kevin Love and a former teammate of his. And Bob, you were saying LeBron's going to stay where?
If LeBron stays out west. I had a lisp problem when I was younger, and every once in a while, it resurfaces, Ray, and it's embarrassing. It hurts. For you to bring it up like that hurts even more. But if you feel good about yourself, then good for you.
Moving along to supporting someone. And you were so happy to see the Phillies support their longtime 2008 teammate. Who was that again?
Hamels, and so many of the 08 members of that team were over there, supporting the Phillies, but I also think supporting, what's his face?
It would be Chase Utley. The second baseman for the 2008 Phillies. That's who they were supporting.
I have a lot of names in my head, right? To pull them out randomly sometimes is a little hard.
You do have a lot of names in your head. And someone that has played second base for the Phillies, he's on the team right now.
Marsh, Pache, Whitfield, Dahl.
Bob, it's Whit Merrifield. I'm begging you.
I'm not giving it up.
I'm begging you, please.
I'm not doing it.
All right, in this time of the NBA offseason, there can be some misinformation going around. And sometimes you give a contract extension to a guy who's not on your team.
One of the free agents that was out there, OG Anunoby, it came out this morning. He is going to sign a max deal with the Indiana Pacers. See, I'm on to something here.
Are you?
Yes, it was Pascal Siakam, but I had a source tell me that OG was also going to go to Indiana, so I actually leaked something. But
okay,
that's all right. It's since been taken back. So
okay,
we'll just make
good.
it look like I was wrong on that.
Yeah, sure. We'll just make it look like you're wrong on that one. Thursday, none of you were here. Thursday, you weren't here.
Oh, okay, good.
So
yeah,
you're done, Bob. Congratulations. Fun week for you. I struggled without you. Expecting a trade. Which one would you choose? So that was a tough one for me. Also, David Dahl changing his jersey. What sport does he play, Ray? But it's MLB uniform numbers. And then finally, another one of these update reads that I just, for some reason, can't get. Craftsman Days are here at Lowe's. I'm sorry, Lowe's and Craftsman. Bill, by the way, which Super Bowl did the Eagles lose?
I wasn't there in 2017 when they lost.
2022.
Bill comes out pretty clean on this.
I did
a lot, and that's a tribute to you.
He had to pull that from today.
Like an hour ago.
I corrected myself right after, though, Ray.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That hasn't saved Bob before, so I can't let that save you.
No, that's okay. Good job by you, Ray. As we do our last week report, like NBA referees, we are not above calling ourselves out for not getting something right. So, talking to Larry Boa, Bill, just now, and we brought up some of the topics that we had been talking about earlier in the day about what he thought. Surprise you at all? I'll give you the subject and then let me know. He's okay with this bullpen. Kind of went like, yeah, if you throw in a back end arm, okay, I understand it, but absolutely does not see it as a necessity.
Doesn't surprise me. I think we were all kind of on the same page as Larry, too, before he came on, that we're not going to say no to another arm, but you look at this bullpen, they're certainly good enough. Now, one thing we didn't talk to Larry about is the player's name that you can't keep getting right, Whit Merrifield.
Whit Merrifield,
well,
yeah.
You may not have to get his name right, because if he doesn't correct what's going on at the plate, the reason they signed him was we thought we were getting a nice bat off the plate, this super utility player, or nice bat off the bench, I should say. Good thing the last week's report is over.
Oh, we're on to next week. Don't worry.
But, I mean, he's given you nothing at all. So, Whit Merrifield, maybe Bob will learn his name once he starts hitting. How about that, Bob?
Yeah, if he sticks around, Whit Merrifield will come out of my mouth naturally. Yeah. We also talked to Boa about the Johan Rojas situation. I thought his answer was cool because there has been a lot of back and forth, and specifically at the beginning of the season when they decided to keep him, and everybody at the station was like, "Okay, yeah, let him play center field." And Andrew, went against everybody else and said, "No, this isn't the place where you learn." Kudos to Andrew. Because that's basically what Larry Boa said. No, you can't learn to like bunt here with a guy on third and you pop up a drag bunt. Because everything is scrutinized so much at the major league level that going down there and learning is what you're going to do. But ultimately, Boa said, hey, I'm about pitching and defense. I'm okay with the lineup you had at the beginning of the year. Does that surprise you a little bit?
No.
Now, we know Larry Bowa's part of the Phillies.
Yeah.
But Larry is also the type that'll say, yeah, I don't agree with, like, he doesn't hold back. So I do firmly believe that's what he believes.
And I think going back to something Ray said earlier, I think if all things were equal, Rojas is probably still here. It was just the business side of it, knowing that he had options, Dahl, Pache, they didn't. So that's the reason that he was the one that went down. So I do think if all things were equal, they would have kept him up here, because why send him down? If you weren't going to do it to start the season, to Andrew Salciunas' point about, well, this isn't where you learn. Well, then why not start him down there? So the only reason they sent him down, in my opinion, was because they were afraid of losing Dahl or Pache, which to me signals even more so why I think they need to add some pieces. If you're worried about losing a Dahl or a Pache, then you have a bigger problem. But it doesn't surprise me. I know he's very high on Rojas's defense.
So, go ahead, Ray. I'm sorry.
Well, I just mean, like, we saw whether or not he could learn at this level. Ultimately, to their liking, it didn't work out in a number of different things. I think at this point, rather it happen now while you're still trying to figure out, hey, who's the fit here, than have this linger to, like, August of, oh, is this guy going to be a contributor for us? Again, all things are equal. I'm not setting him down, but if you're going to do it at this point, I guess I understand what the development they're trying to get out of him down there will be.
We had a call earlier, and we couldn't get to him, and I'm sorry that we couldn't, but it said what he wanted to talk about was one thing about an outfielder and go and get Mike Trout. Now, look, it's been brought up so many times, and it was brought up in the offseason, and we've had the back and forth and whatever, and Trout does have that big contract out there, and there's the injury history. This is such a no-brainer in my head that, like, I told you before, Aiden Miller's the one guy that I would, probably not want to get rid of. If the name Mike Trout is after that, I'm in.
So who's your center fielder? Are you going with Rojas back in center?
I'd probably go Rojas in center and Trout in left. Or I'd go back to Marsh in center and put Trout in left. I don't know. Mike Trout?
Yes,
I understand the injury history, but, man, I'm making that move 9 times out of 10.
That would be cool. It would be really cool. Hopefully he could stay healthy. And I'm not worried about him playing that many regular season games. Just keep him healthy for the postseason. If you get Trout here, once he comes back, get him here. And then I think I'm okay with Marsh being your center fielder. Keep Rojas on the postseason lineup. Sure. Make the defensive switch when you take the lead. Put Rojas in center in place of Marsh. Or maybe even, I don't think you take Trout out. Because I was saying if you're making a defensive switch, you don't want to risk not having Trout back in the lineup if for some reason
I like Trout's
you lose the lead.
Too. Yeah.
We're not just going to play him in center where he plays?
I don't think so. Do you think he should play center to keep him healthy?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It was the health thing, and like you have 2 guys that can play probably defensively, maybe a better center field. Well, one definitely. Trout, with all these injuries, and look, I'll be honest, I haven't watched a lot of Mike Trout because he's out west and all of that, but we all know what he is. It would be. I would just say that I've never. All right, let me put the names out to you real quick before we hit a break here. And you tell me yes or no they're going to be on the Phillies postseason roster. All right? We'll start with Pache. What do you say, Bill?
Yes.
Ray?
No.
Okay. Dahl?
No.
Clemens?
No.
Rojas?
Yes, I think he's on.
Yes.
Okay. All right. It's going to be interesting. See how it all plays out with the Phillies going forward, trade deadline. When exactly is that? Do we know the end of August?
July?
July
30th?
August, yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. When we get back, we have some more hate on hate crime. I hate to say it, but we do, as Ray has some more Silvana info.
This is very strange.
Uh-oh.
Very strange.
Oh, can't wait for that. All right. That will wrap the week up. When we get back, this is Middays, Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Welcome back. You know, we talk about rivalries an awful lot on this very radio station. You talk Sixers, Celtics, or Phillies, Mets, and Eagles, Cowboys. Well, another one has entered in, and it's Silvana Ray. It's become one of the bigger rivalries on this sports station. Now, Ray, what happened last break that adds to the weirdness of Silvana?
Tyrone came in and let me know about this.
Okay.
So this whole ice cream hypothetical walked them down the favorite ice cream flavor.
Right.
Her favorite is strawberry.
What? Nobody's
Strawberry.
favorite is strawberry.
No.
Never.
Never. Not once. Not a single human being. Their
Like-
entire existence. They only sell strawberry in the little, like, mixed flavor thing.
Right,
Yeah.
because it's like
Neapolitans.
I was going to say it's like the redheaded stepchild. That used to be a saying back in the day. But, like, it is. It's like, all right, we'll put you with the two cool kids because nobody really likes you, but it'll make you look better. Like, when you were little, if your parents got the triple threat thing, the Neapolitan, it was like you eat the vanilla, you eat the chocolate, whatever, both at the same time. Those two would go down and down and down and down and down till there's none of it. And then it's like, all right, I guess I'll eat the strawberry. I mean, that's in 99% of households. Her favorite flavor is strawberry?
Yes, apparently.
I've never heard anyone say that in my life. My backing of you is growing more and more because of her. Thumbs up for what? Nobody likes strawberry shortcake. The little figure. She didn't even like strawberry. She wanted to be like mint chocolate chip shortcake, but they couldn't get it
So
done.
good. So good, Bob. You got her.
What? Yeah. What? Go away. What? What's your favorite ice cream?
Probably a mint chocolate chip.
That's mine too.
Hey, look at us.
Bill's A.
Probably a chocolate chip cookie dough. I was never a huge fan of the mint chocolate chip. I didn't like the minty flavor with my ice cream.
I love it.
I know people do. I'm not judging it like we were judging Silvana because strawberry's ridiculous. But
Yeah. I mean, that's a tough look.
was never a huge fan. But the chocolate chip cookie dough, always a fan.
I just think this is a really difficult, start hating on me for I don't know why. And as we continue to learn more about Silvana, I mean, it's becoming a little concerning.
It's like one of the things that I like to say when you see a problem, like if it's math when you're young and all that, they ask you, they say, what's the common denominator, right? Well, in this problem, and a lot of the problems surrounding this station with the best show ever and the midday, which there isn't many, we all get along. But the common denominator of things that might be going downhill a little bit, I'm sorry, it's Silvana Kelleher.
She's fighting all of us now.
She really is, and I think she takes great joy in it.
And I don't have to protect her anymore. I do miss her on the weekends now, but I don't have to protect her. She used to be a part of my crew. But now I'm excited. We got to give a little shout out to Sean Rodman. Will be producing his first shows this weekend with me on Saturday and Sunday morning.
Sweet. And we're going to hear you Saturday 9 to 1:30?
9 to 1:30 Saturday, 9 to 12 on Sunday.
Wow. And then, Ray, you will be joining these very airwaves. What time on Sunday?
3 to 6.
3 to 6 on Sunday. So make sure you call in, you listen. It's going to be hot, so everybody's going to be spending time indoors. Make sure you turn on your app, your radio, whatever it may be, and listen to these guys during the week. Ray, or weekend, I want to say, Ray, I want to say goodbye to you for next week because you're getting in like an airplane and going, I don't know, somewhere really far away and expensive because that's the life of Ray Dunn. So I hope you have a absolutely wonderful vacation.
I hope so too, Bob. I will miss you. I will. Genuinely.
I don't think you will.
I will miss you.
Are you
I
going
will
to be
enjoy vacation, but I will miss seeing you.
You going to be watching the YouTube channel on the beach like I was?
Bill, I appreciate your commitment to what you do. And I think it's great. It's swell.
It's swell.
Swell.
I love all of you.
You better tell them to stop carrying on, too, as long as you're going with the swell.
I'll just say, I love all of you. I love what we do. I love this place. I'll be on the beach. There's a good chance that the next time that I'm tapped in is when I get back.
Yeah.
But you'll be tapped in with the Phillies, though. You won't not do that.
No, in the NBA draft next week, there's things that I'll be following along with, but to be tapped into with the day-to-day, I'll be doing a lot of studying come June 30th.
Good man. All right, well, listen, we thank you. Stay tuned for the best show ever. We will, most of us, except for Ray, talk to you on Monday. This is The Fanatic 97.5.